Kuokoa vingine kitu kama ceiling fascia board ya ndani, mabati, alafu na hizi gas za mitungi hizi. Tumuombe tu Mungu kama ingelifika usiku hii watoto tungekuwa na maafa mengi sana hapa.
Lack of adequate firefighting equipment has been blamed on the inability to fight the fire, with leaders being asked to address the issue.
Kama ikiwezekana kwamba kila sabu ward ama kila sabu county iwe na gari kuzima moto, kwa sababu tuko na shida. Kwa sababu kitambo hii gari moja itoke Busia, na hiyo jamu ya matrela nyiko pale Busia Way Bridge imechukua muda mrefu. Kama wananchi tumejaribu kufanya kazi.
Kenya Under-23 head coach emerging stars Stanley Okumbi has named the provisional squad for the team set to take part in 2021 Sekafa Senior Championship next month. Among the notable inclusions are Henry Major, Benson Omala, Marvin Nabuire, Ambrose Sifuna, and goalkeeper Brian Buire. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto.
It's Monday morning, and let's look at how it has already started this morning. We're already seeing traffic is already building up on Mombasa Road today. We're looking at between Cabanas and General Motors, already quite some. Let's look at it as it goes towards the Nyayo Stadium roundabout. There's an option of going towards the southern bypass, so use that as you can. Coming off of Thika Road, Kiambu Road is already jam-packed to the Pangani underpass and out towards Ngara. We already see traffic that has built up there. So it's a Monday morning. Things are already looking a little bit crazy, but not too bad right now. We'll take a look at it as it opens up later. Jogo Road is already piling up as well, going towards Landis industrial area, looking like a sandwich. Let's look at it in half an hour. SpiceFM KE on Twitter is how you can talk to us. Text us on 40127. It's Monday. Let's keep things moving.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation Room, the only way
to... Good morning to you. Welcome to the 21st day of June 2021. And the Situation Room is live now for the next 4 hours. CT Muga, Ndu Oko, and Eric Latif in the studio. Good morning, Ndu.
Good morning, Eric.
How are you?
I'm doing all right. And yourself?
Mimi Niko Salama Salimeni.
Good to see you, man.
Good to see you too, ma'am.
Are you too aware that we actually saw each other last on Friday? Friday, as in not last year, just... Do
you realize that the number of things can happen in 72 hours?
Oh, no, I realize a lot of things
can happen in
a minute. I get it.
It's a long time.
I get it. You know, these salutations that seem to imply a certain longevity. You know, it's like, hey, you've been lost.
But you must understand that I see you gentlemen every day, Monday to Friday. And then I don't see you Saturday, Sunday, unless for whatever, if there was somewhere we were supposed to what. So I don't see you 2 days. And I see you every day. I'm getting used to see you every day. And then I don't see you for 2 days. It feels like a long time that I haven't seen you.
Or a welcome break.
Well, that too. On that note, how are you, CT?
I'm actually very fine. I am glad that every once in a while we discuss mental health in this place. It's useful. What? Didn't see that one coming, did you?
Did you?
But Eric, how are you today?
I'm very well, thank you.
Ndu, how are you?
Fine, thank you, sir.
Okay.
So since Friday, since the last time we were here, a lot of things have happened, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we still have the issue of COVID-19 spreading its wings, especially in the Lake Basin region, in the Lake region. and the numbers continue to rise, and the healthcare system continues to be stretched, and we are seeing reports of healthcare workers also saying, look, we are getting stretched as well. That is something to discuss. Politics, the usual dose of everything. So it happened that in Nyanza, there was this visit by the top leadership in the country. Now we've seen the deputy president was around West Pokot over the weekend. We have seen the president is planning a tour of Ukambani from this week, at some point this week. There's also reports that he's planning to do some tour of the Mount Kenya region. We know that the former prime minister, the ODM party leader, has been in the coast. So politics is going on full throttle. Well, at the same time, the Olympics happened at Nyayo Stadium on Saturday.
The Olympic qualifiers.
No, my friend. When it comes to long-distance running, if you go to Nyayo Stadium during the national trials, you're basically watching the Olympics.
You're actually watching an event that perhaps is even more exciting and more competitive than the Olympics.
That is it. You are watching the Olympics. Now, I was watching that and I was wondering, this is a very big opportunity for even Athletics Kenya and others, and even the brands that like supporting sports, to actually have made very big meal out of that event.
Yes.
Make sure that the build-up to Kasarani Saturday was big. Make sure that everybody was aware that this is going to... The same way we're talking about Safari Rally. We know that Safari Rally is going to take place this weekend, and this conversation has been taking place for a long time. Can you imagine if the same was actually being said about our National Olympics trials? People would even set up, brands would set up screens in various places, have broadcast partners that are live streaming this. It was being live streamed by some TV stations. Have, some sort of festival in places where guys are just sitting and watching, getting the background of the athletes that are participating in this. That build-up.
I would like to believe that people who are in the business of ensuring that such information is made not just available publicly, but it's spread far and wide, have made similar suggestions. The question goes to those who head Athletics Kenya, okay? Because some of them were athletes, some of them have been at the helm of this institution for a while. Some of them have participated in what other people do across the globe. So this is something they ought to know.
Yeah.
So then what is it that prevents them from actually doing this thing that they know they could very easily do?
We can actually make this something that is a huge event. It's the mini Olympics. And even the world can watch this.
Eric,
we can sell rights.
The world actually watches it. Do you know the number of scouts, the number of talent scouts who are in Kenya when we have these meetings?
Yes.
People who understand the value of our athletes, who understand the commercial potential. Do you know the numbers who actually come into this kind of those meets? The numbers are huge because they know and they understand. And I think this is where our Athletics Kenya focuses on. Because these people represent money. And if they represent money, these are the people they'll talk to. But the interest in the rest of the country actually getting to appreciate this value, this talent that we have, nothing could be further from their minds.
It's basically just taking it for granted.
Yes.
It's taking
And this is something that we have that many people don't have.
Yes. Realizing the marketing value of that. Anyway, let's start with looking at the COVID-19 numbers, the latest from around the country and the world.
All right, so yesterday Kenya recorded 283 cases. This is coming from the day before of 714, 796 the day before that, and 660. So we've seen a steady rise from where we saw 485 mid last week. Rose to 660, then to 796, and then down to 714 yesterday, coming over the weekend. 283 new cases and 9 new deaths, unfortunately. I'd like to see those numbers come up today as more testing will take place, or rather more results will come out of whatever was tested over the weekend. This takes Kenya's numbers now to 179,075, right? So there's a lot of confusion right now especially coming out of the 13th county, what is being called the disease zone now. Can we travel? Can we not? Is it emergency or not? Can we go into this area or not? So what came out from the Ministry of Health is that it is strongly discouraged to travel to this area, at least for the next 30 days, unless it is an emergency. That's what they've said. If any kind of new communication comes out, then we will know. But it is strongly discouraged unless for an emergency traveling to these areas, right? Okay, so we have a total of 1,106 patients currently admitted to various health facilities countrywide. 5,488 are under the home-based isolation and care program. And 73 patients have recovered from the virus, raising the total number of recoveries in the country to 122,704. 1,183,376 Kenyans and others have been vaccinated by, that was as of Saturday, the 20th of June. And this number includes for those who've received their first dose and some who have received their second dose. Again, in terms of when more vaccines will come into the country, then that will be available for more people is unknown to quite a number of people. So we wait and see. It's a wait and see situation. More vaccines come, more people can get their second dose, and hopefully more and more people can get their first dose. Continues to be a problem. Let's look around the world. We had seen previously that Israel had told us that they were going to help with vaccines in their region. Well, it seems that the Palestinians have cancelled the vaccine swap deal with Israel.
Vaccine swap?
Deal, yes.
They want to swap vaccines with what?
So Israel was to give Palestine at least 1 million COVID vaccines. The authority said the Pfizer jabs were and the thing is that with those vaccines coming in,
we're looking at expiry dates.
Exactly. They were too close to the expiry date. Earlier, Israel had said it didn't need an aging stock of vaccines and they were to be used to speed up the Palestinian vaccination program. So in return, the Palestinians were to give Israel a similar number of vaccines they were expecting from the Pfizer organization later in the year. So take these because you don't need them right now and they're about to expire. When you get yours that will expire later, you give them to us. So they'd been told the jabs would expire in July, August, but when they arrived, the marked date was June. And according to the Authority Health Minister, Mai Al-Khalai, they were too close, so they rejected them. Israel has not said anything about the alleged date of expiry.
Well, it's very clear to everybody in the world that the first batches of these things had an expiry date of around June.
And we're in June.
Yeah, and we are in June. So, I mean, if you receive 1 million vaccines today and you have, 8 days to go, how likely are you to be able to vaccinate people within those 8 days?
It boils down.
They knew all along, Israelis knew all along that they have vaccines and they will be expiring. They had made the commitment before this that we'll give you the vaccines. What's with the delays? It's the same thing that we are seeing with the Western world, saying, we're going to give you vaccines. We'll give vaccines to the COVAX program and the others next year.
They should have given them earlier.
Yeah.
That's just
and you're keeping those things, you're hoarding them.
And you knew very well that you didn't need them.
Those 8 million doses or whatever millions of doses that America has right now, for example, of AstraZeneca, that they haven't approved, that they're not using.
But listen to this discussion. You are talking about vaccines, and suddenly you're being told, this vaccine that was being manufactured in India is not really AstraZeneca.
Yeah. What is it, by the way?
Well, trade name, brand is AstraZeneca. Okay. Now, in terms of genome sequencing, if you're looking at what it is that the virus and its mutation and the composition, meaning its genetic makeup is, and then you look at whatever it is that you're producing, you ask anyone who is in that field and they'll tell you, my friend, the differences are insignificant. Similarities, when they say the similarities are low, they're 87% similar.
So what is being produced in India versus what is being produced in Europe are different.
The difference, that's what I'm trying to tell you.
But they were all developed by Oxford.
Yes, it's the same. If you're talking differences, the percentile, look at it in terms of similarities. If something is 99% similar to the other one, you tell me, what is this issue that you have? It's the same discussion about this particular virus was manufactured in a lab, all right? Scientists have actually gone, again, I'm talking about genome sequencing, looking at the genetic makeup of this virus, okay? And they're saying there's something very simple. Huh? If it was manufactured in a lab, it would mean you have the virus, then you implant something into it. And so you'd see a consistency that is unusual. And usually with these things, it's irregular. It's haphazard, more or less, so you can't determine it. So every test that has been done so far, they find it's haphazard. So this issue of it being tested or brought in the lab doesn't make sense. Yes, it honestly doesn't make sense because scientists who actually work in this field know exactly how to determine this. Now, same with the vaccine. You know, Pakistan have an institute. It's called SIND. They also produce the AstraZeneca vaccine. Suddenly, the Europeans are saying, well, we haven't quite approved that one. And you're thinking, what the hell are you people talking about? For it to be produced, it meant that institution met the standards that you people recognize as being the universal standards for these things.
Yes.
So what are you talking about?
And you've already received what they essentially call the prototype. You've received that.
Of course you
So it is
have.
upon that you're now producing en masse.
Yes.
You will not be able to produce anything outside of what the initial makeup was. You can't do that. So by the time they're giving you the license to produce under the name AstraZeneca, then you already have that initial makeup, and that's what you're producing against.
Look at that game that is being played in Europe and look at what the Americans are doing with AstraZeneca. It doesn't matter what you say, but what is certain, even when the G8, G10, G15, call it whatever you wish to call it, met, and they agreed to look at the universality of how it is to help mankind, it has nothing to do with that, absolutely nothing. It has more to do with halting the advance that China has been making.
Yep.
While they were busy playing their politics and throwing their lopsided morality at third world countries,
Yep.
China was just marching ahead. China was just marching ahead. And now it's going to be a difficult act to
try and stop them and hold
Yes.
them. Absolutely. 19 minutes after 6. Let's take this break, take a look at the weather, and then we will take a look at the headlines. We are live streaming the show like we do every morning. SpiceFM KE, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. Are you online? Say hello to us. We'll be saying hello to you shortly. Good morning.
24/7, around the world, non-stop. This is Spice FM.
As the Kenyans are roared into the home straight here. 4 Kenyan queens have lit up this balmy Bahamian night.
It's where the rivalry is unmatched, where the soul meets the track, where the great are distinguished from the good. An arena where the records are broken.
A new world record. It's not just been beaten, it's been obliterated.
A stage where the legends are born. For Team Kenya, the Olympics is more than just a sport. It is our tradition. It's an event that has put Kenya on the roadmap. The Standard Group lets you watch every minute and every action live in the 2020 Tokyo Olympics. Because we live for Team Kenya. We live for the game. At Standard Group, sports lives here.
What is the best gift to celebrate a birthday? Cash, of course. What if I told you that you can get cold, hard cash for celebrating a birthday? This June, I, Olivia Otieno, is giving 10,000 shillings to 41 lucky Spice FM listeners to celebrate my 41st birthday. That's right, this June, 41 lucky Spice FM listeners will get 10,000 shillings cash. All you need to do is SMS the word cash to 29599. That's cash to 29599. 5, 9.
This morning, we're looking at cloudy conditions at 13 in Nairobi. That'll be the low for today, going to highs of 23. Cloudy conditions in Nyeri at 12, highs of 20 and lows of 13. 23 will be the high in Nakuru, where it's mostly cloudy at 14 this morning. There are clear skies in Eldoret at 13, highs of 23 and lows of 11. Mostly cloudy conditions this morning in Kisumu at 18, highs of 26. It'll come back down to lows of 18, and it's cloudy in Kakamega at 17. We'll see lows of 14 today and highs of 26. We'll see lows of 23 in Mombasa, where it's raining lightly at 24, highs of 28 today. 27 will be the high in Malindi, where it's also raining at 24. Cloudy conditions in Kampala at 17, coming down to that low, highs of 25. 22 and rain showers in Dar es Salaam, highs of 29 and lows of 22. It's getting colder and colder in Johannesburg. This morning is at 6, highs of 16 and lows of 4. Rain showers in Lagos at 24, highs of 28, back down to lows of 24. We're looking at cloudy conditions at 21 in Kinshasa, highs of 31, coming back down to lows of 23. It's getting warmer in Beijing at 33 this morning, highs of 35. Going well into the afternoon, they'll come down to lows of 20. Mostly cloudy conditions in Paris at 18. It's the summer, highs of 24 and lows of 16. It's cloudy in London at 13. It'll come down to lows of 11 and lows and highs of 13. Clear conditions Sunday night in New York, coming in Monday, highs of 30 and lows of 23.
Spice FM. Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right.
Yep.
94.4.
4 minutes after 6 a.m. Who's online?
Apostle Morris K says good morning. Well, good morning to you, sir. Collins Kimtai Kipsat says hello. Eric City and Oko. Okay. All right. Charity Minor says good morning from Milimani Estate in Nakuru, tuned in this morning. Good morning beside you in Eldoret. Yes, that's Collins. Shem Ongwai says good morning from Nakuru, and Laban is tuned in from Koriot, Nandi County. Locked in, that's where Vincent Ogutu says. So good morning for those of you who are online and joining us. Karibuni sana.
Who's in Koriot, Nandi County?
Laban.
Where does he know that's his name?
I don't know.
Laban.
It's a Hebrew name. It's Laban.
Laban. Laban.
Sawabasi.
Laban.
Laban is Leiban. That's Laban. Laban.
Or Lay.
Yes. Laban. Laban.
It's Laban.
Okay. I won't even argue with you guys. Not today.
It's just our contribution to a conversation
Allah.
about Laban's name.
No, Allah.
City today's proverb.
When vultures surround you, try not to die.
Or sit still.
Yes.
When vultures surround you, try and stay alive. Try not to die. Where is this from?
This one is an African one.
Okay. Safsana. Let's take a look at the headlines then. What's in the papers? What's in the papers? What's not?
What's caught my attention, Nation, back page, we are not ready for junior secondary, says principals. Okay? Now, there are if you look at other papers, the thing that they seem to be saying is that this is a disaster in the waiting. Okay? Schools are bracing themselves for massive congestion if new classes and dormitories are not built. What are we talking about? We're talking about 1.5 years before the junior CBC class joins junior secondary. Okay?
So basically grade 5 is going to grade 6.
Yes. So what we're seeing here is not any different from when we moved to the 844 system. Because the understanding was that it would be piloted. We see the CBC being piloted. That 844 was piloted in theory and then it was implemented. Okay? But it didn't require some of the structural changes that this particular system actually requires. It simply used the structure that already existed. What they did was jig the curriculum, and also say, instead of 7 years, they're now going to be in class for 8 years, and then university, and so forth. But what changed dramatically, you must remember, was also now the period of time that people studied, because one, you had people who had done their Form 6. They were waiting to go to university. Then there were people who were finishing their Form 4, and they were also going to go to university. So again, it brought about challenges. We've now forgotten about those challenges because the 844 system became the norm, but now we are revisiting some of these changes that come about when you have a system which in and of itself may really be good, but the way we are going about implementing it, I really wonder whether it is worth the bother that it's going to create.
But there's something I'm not understanding in this story. It is secondary school heads who are saying we are not ready for the transition to junior secondary school.
Yes.
The CBC, as it is, it says that primary years are up to what? Grade? Is it 6?
Yes.
And then you go into junior secondary at grade 7?
Yes.
And then from there, you'll go into senior secondary at?
Give it, I think, another 4 years, then you move on to the next level.
I think it's 2-2.
It's 2-2.
Is it 2?
Yeah, two
Wait,
junior secondary, two
Let's
senior
start with the
secondary.
beginning.
Senior secondary.
It is 4?
Of earlier years.
Okay. Then we go to 2?
No, it's 2 of early years. So you do PP1 and PP2, and then you do grade 1 until 4.
Junior secondary. Okay, so grade 1 to 6 is primary.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
So
Then
it's
grade
2 and
7,
6.
8 and 9 are junior secondary. Okay? And then senior secondary is grade 10, 11 and 12. So 3-3. 3 years in junior secondary, 3 years in senior secondary. Now, we are basically saying those who will be in standard 6 will move into 7, but it will be secondary. And they'll also be in 8, which will be in secondary. And then they'll go into 9, which will still be in secondary. Now, the issue here is at what point do they leave the current school institution, go to the next institution? Are they only transiting in classroom, or are they actually moving out of this school to go to another one?
Well, if the school then, already, because there are some schools who are right now only going until primary and then do not have secondary facilities. So if you move a school, that's different. But if you're staying within the same school and then transitioning, and then you're going from primary to high school, you're still within the same school.
But that's what I'm wondering. You see, currently schools have 8 classes, right? But secondary has an extra class. So are we going to see pupils who are in ex-primary school getting to grade 6 and then leaving that school to be admitted to a secondary school? Or are they just going to transition automatically from grade 6 into the next classroom, which will now be junior secondary grade 7, into standard 8, which will be junior secondary grade 8, and then what happens to grade 9?
Part of the discussion is also, it's actually...
So at what point does the secondary head take over?
It's actually in the future when, in 2023 specifically, when the last batch of the 844 system will be exiting, and yet this new lot of the CBC will be coming in. That will bring about a congestion. Now, that congestion, because is what I think is forming part of this conversation. That when you have a situation of that sort, by the way, it's not new in our system. It's not new. Even when strikes force the universities, for instance, to change the timetable of the school, the university learning period, they've had this issue more than once, where this lot have been sent home, they've stayed home for a while. The next lot who finish exams are supposed to come in. These ones had not quite completed their education. So you suddenly find you have this huge number of people who need to be learning, and the facilities are the same. What am I saying? I am saying this. There is a lot that needs to be explained so that people understand with great clarity. One, the CBC, we've gotten a hang of it to some degree. But how it is, the ministry is proposing to implement it so that all these questions which keep arising and the things which are being thrown at it are answered satisfactorily. Because what this article points to me is that there is a lot that people are uncomfortable with. That's what it points out to me.
And I think there's also a lot of lack of clarity, even on the part of the school heads.
Yes.
because I can see what Kahindi Muli, the chair of the School Heads Association, is saying, that in that 2023, there will be that transition. But in my understanding, the people who are not doing CBC right now, those pupils in primary school will still continue doing 844 until they finish. The first batch of CBC will be those who are currently in grade 5. So they'll go into 6, then they'll go into junior secondary, then there will be... So there's no point when there's going to be a double intake of Form 1s, because there'll no longer be a Form 1.
There won't be, but they will be in secondary school. I mean, it's...
And that's where my question was coming in. Are they actually moving out of their current institution to go to a secondary school, or are we utilizing those 2 classes and continuing?
There's lack of clarity there. I don't see clarity in that. The other thing that also comes into discussion is that young students are going to enter secondary school at a much younger age than they previously did. Whether that is significant, whether it isn't, but remember, there's also the discussion of boarding facilities apart from just classrooms. There's a lot that is up in the air and keeps appearing in this discussion, but there isn't sufficient clarity. Yes.
The boarding discussion is going to have to be a lot more clearer, because with the new education policy, what is being asked of parents is that you take your children to schools that are closer to you so that you remove this whole boarding angle. Because what they're trying to do is encourage more and more to only board in your last 2 years of secondary school, which in this case would be grade 11 and 12. Right? So that's the suggestion, that's the encouragement. But it will be very interesting to see how this will actually play out.
By the way, to complicate these matters further, as we speak, or when this report was actually written, the Ministry of Education, the Institute of Curriculum Development, together with the Kenya National Examination Council, were in a workshop in Machakos, working out fine details about what should be done. However, there's one complaint. There was a commission. There was a task force that was headed by a certain professor, Fatuma Chege. They were supposed to present the blueprint of the details of how this system should be rolled out. And the complaint is that this group that is now working in Machakos don't have this blueprint. So they're wondering, how then do we come up with the details of how to roll this thing out when we don't have the blueprint that was supposed to be provided for us? So this situation that we're currently talking about, unfortunately, has more questions than it has answers. So I think in the coming days, perhaps we should look for some of our colleagues in the Ministry of Education and ask them to explain this thing to us further so that we understand it.
Yes, indeed. 25 minutes to 7. Let's take a break to see how the roads are looking like. Jobs.standardmedia.co.ke. Have you visited that website lately? Very many jobs are listed on this website on a daily basis. If you go there, you find a job that suits you, apply. If you find that there's no job that's been listed that suits you, just subscribe. And when a job that suits you is listed, you will receive an email or an SMS alert. Principal Evaluator, the United Nations Environment Program, is looking for one. Consultancy for Assessment of Disability, UNICEF, is looking for that. Cambry Wellcome Trust Research Program is looking for an IT systems specialist. People and Culture Partner by Kenya Airways, a United Nations office in Nairobi, is looking for a light vehicle driver. These and many other jobs on jobs.standardmedia.co.ke. Check them out.
24/7 around the world, non-stop. This is Spice FM.
Malaria husababishwa na viini ambazo husambazwa na kuumwa na mbu kutoka kwa mwathiriwa mmoja aliye na viini hivyo hadi mwingine. Unajua kwamba waweza zuia malaria na hivyo basi kuzuia maafa yanayotokana na maradhi ya malaria? Unaweza kuzuia malaria kwa kuhakikisha kila mtu katika jamii analala ndani ya neti za mbu zilizotibiwa kila siku, kila msimu. Hakikisha mazingira karibu na makao yako ni safi kwa kuondoa maji yaliyokusanyika, vyombo vya plastiki, tairi za gari, katoni na vitu vingine vyote ambavyo havitumiki haswa msimu wa mvua. Vitu hivi hutumika kama makao kuzaana kwa mbu. Wanawake wajawazito katika maeneo hatari ya malaria wanaomba kutembelea kituo cha afya kupokea dawa zilizoidhinishwa za kuwazuia dhidi ya malaria pamoja na mtoto aliye tumboni. Pamoja tuendelee kuangamiza malaria. Ujumbe huu umeletwa kwako na Wizara ya Afya na UNICEF.
The COVID-19 pandemic has reminded us that knowing how to spot fake news can be the difference between life and death. The spread of fake news has national implications too. Is your governor really delivering on his campaign promises, or does the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission have a watertight case against him? It all boils down to the news you consume. That's why SpiceFM and its partners have created the Fighting Fakes Media Literacy Campaign to help Kenyans become more discerning news consumers. We'll show you how to take care before you share. Tune in to The Situation Room from 6 a.m. every weekday morning for refreshing and profitable conversations about the facts and only the facts.
All right, building up on Mombasa Road this morning, actually, it's actually not too terrible from what we see right now between Cabanas and then going towards General Motors and then out towards Nyeri Stadium roundabout. We will see that Uhuru Highway continues with certain parts of the road locked off because of the construction. That still continues today. There was an accident at the Taj Mahal overpass heading to Donholm. No casualties, slight traffic build-up, so approach with caution as you're going in that direction. The Southern Eastern Red Hill bypass is looking pretty good this morning. And outer ring, save for that little hold-up, should not be too bad. All right, going towards the city via Ngara, you might want to go towards Wangari Maathai. Use that as an option this morning because it's already starting to build up with traffic there. Jogo Road, industrial area, coming out then towards Landis as well. Doesn't look too bad, but it's building up. Right about 7, when we get into traffic hour, we will see a build-up of traffic. We'll be here to let you know what it looks like, where you can or cannot go. Help us out with that too so we can share the right information on SpiceFM KE on Twitter or text on 40127.
Spice FM, Malindi. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right.
All right.
94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
All right, so we looked at the puzzle of imported onions the other day. There's a puzzle of imported potatoes, and it's starting to become eyebrow-raising moments and a bit worrying. So this is in the business today. So just give you the punitive duty on imported potatoes might not increase the price of fries sold by fast food franchises after all. There were fears that the decision by the National Treasury Cabinet Secretary Kuyatani to slap imported potatoes with a higher duty would result in higher prices of fast food. This is because some of the fast food franchises get most of their potatoes from Egypt, which enjoys preferential treatment under the Common Market for East African and Southern Africa, which is a COMESA rule. In what was aimed at protecting growers of vegetable products, including potatoes, peas and tomatoes, the finance minister of the 3 East African Community Partner States agreed to increase duty on their imports. To protect these farmers and the sector from cheap imports, the EAC partner states agreed that vegetable products, including potatoes, peas and tomatoes, among others, shall attract a duty rate of 30% for 1 year as we await the finalization of the review of the EAC. So this will not restrict the flow of these vegetables from Egypt, where fast food franchises get most of their potatoes. These restaurants argue that they can't get the right potatoes from the close to 1.2 million Kenyans who grow the produce. Kenya is among the countries that apply 100% tariff reductions, which means goods coming from Egypt do not attract duty. It is not just potatoes that Kenya imports from Egypt duty-free. A myriad of other products, including iron and steel, also enjoy duty-free status. Other products that are imported from Egypt include raw sugar, toilet paper, cleaning products. Other than vegetables, Kenya also extended the 25% duty on finished iron and steel and 35% duty on future imports. So, what we're seeing now is that, we've been seeing it for some time, but a lot of these outlets come into the country and they say they're not able to get the quality and the quantity that they need from Kenyan farmers locally, and would have to import them.
I think for me, I see where they come from. Okay, because you're running a business and your business is premised on quality assurance to your customers. Okay, now if you work backwards, is your logistics able to actually get that supplied locally? If not, then you look for where you shall get. Now, The question that comes to my mind is, what efforts have been made by government and others to make sure that we develop some level of quality assurance and consistency of supply for all our agricultural produce? From everything, we have issues of quality assurance and consistency of supply for all our produce, even animals. Look at our export market. One of our big challenges in the export market for livestock is that it's the quality of what we're selling. The Middle East, for example, they're the large consumers of sheep, goat, and beef. And then there's a quality that market demands. The age of that sheep or that goat, the gender of the sheep or the goat. Are Kenyan farmers aware that this is what is required by the market? Are Kenyan farmers aware that, for me to be able to produce this, I need a consistent production of this grade of potato for me to be able to supply the market? If we're just growing because we are subsistence farmers and we're subsistence consumers, then it's waru, it's in the market, you buy, you eat. People start saying, warus from Warufaga in Elbagon, different from warus from Nyandarua. They're different from warus in other parts. But what is this quality? We as a market have never really come up with a quality. Now comes in some fast food chain that has a basic quality, and they say, this is the quality of potato that we want. If you guys are not able to provide,
I'm going to look elsewhere.
Yes.
And this is the thing. If we are talking about agriculture as in a way of sustenance, then it has to be a targeted market strategy to say that this is what we are going to grow in the quantity and the kind of quality that we are going to grow it. Otherwise, you're not even going to be able to compete with the world market. These guys are doing, you might look, just like you're saying, you're looking at, okay, so what's the big deal? It's just a potato, right? There are people, there are countries that are targeted in terms of their strategy for marketing and saying, look, this is what we know the standard is. This is where we are setting our attention. Does every farmer who is in this field have the necessary information? Do they have the necessary resources and inputs? Because you're looking at this as a country target. So everybody who's going to play has to play along
these lines. And then you also require private sector investors to come and invest in this. If you look at, for example, in the chicken industry in the country, Kenchik invested heavily in their production and certain qualities and certain standards. They also invested in getting those franchises for the outlets just to make sure that their market is also well aligned so that people know if I walk into this Kenchik store, wherever, it's all branded Kenchik, I'm going to get a certain quality of chicken that comes from quality farms. When they now stopped doing the franchising, it's because they had already developed the market. So now the market is aware. You go to a supermarket and you find this Kenchik, you will actually trust the brand. They have assured quality. Now we need such investors as well in potato, in tomatoes, in the rest.
I think the problem isn't even with our farmers. No. If our farmers knew that a certain quality of potato was required to meet the need of a certain market, they would produce it. A potato is a potato, okay? They would ensure. If it is, you want a potato without blemish. Because if you look at some of these franchises that are international, there's a quality that they want.
Yep.
Now, the truth of the matter is they would rather import from sources that already meet that quality. But what stops our farmers from actually ensuring that we are able to actually guarantee that we can match that particular standard? I believe we can.
I think that's what I was saying. A lot of work needs to be done on education. When you look at what we are exporting in terms of the other horticultural products, what we export, because the market has demanded a certain degree and level of quality, our farmers, for example, farmers in Kirinyaga who are doing French beans and others, know the quality of French beans that's required. And they know, and they're selling it to the export market. And a lot of work has actually been done in making sure that you guys, we are not going to take this French bean if it has this kind of blemish. It has to meet the standard. A lot of work needs to be done just to see, okay, so, and maybe that's what now the big franchise is wondering. So do I really want to invest going back all the way? How long is it going to take me? Or is it easier for me to just get the potato from Egypt? Because I'm able to get it duty-free. The only cost that I'm incurring here is a transportation cost. And I can deal with that. 13 minutes to 7. Let's take another quick break. And then we'll be back shortly looking at more headlines. Good morning.
"24/7 around the world, non-stop. This is Spice FM.
What is the best gift to celebrate a birthday? Cash, of course. What if I told you that you can get cold, hard cash for celebrating a birthday? This June, Olivia Otieno, is giving 10,000 shillings to 41 lucky Spice FM listeners to celebrate my 41st birthday. That's right, this June, 41 lucky Spice FM listeners will get 10,000 shillings cash. All you need to do is SMS the word cash to 29599. That's cash to 29599. And if your SMS is number 41 or number 1041 every Monday to Friday, you walk away with 10,000 shillings cash. Each SMS costs 10 shillings. Terms and conditions apply. Go to spicefm.co.ke for more details.
Kubash Hood Edition is here, and we are all about the youth. They are young, energetic, ambitious, and they are the future. Kubash Hood Edition is all about creating brighter futures for young people, empowering them from issues mental health, peer pressure, innovation, and even parenting. Our show gives young people the practical and insightful support they need. From different segments from dance battles, shout-outs, Artist of the Week, to even Gava Corner. Kubash Hood Edition. We help them in building their confidence and motivation so they can continue to dream big. Kubash Hood Edition. Coming to a hood near you. Live on KTN Home every Saturday 1:30 p.m. to 3:30 p.m.
Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise.
You're listening to Spice FM. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
11 minutes to 7. So there was a story that was going around towards the end of the week about this woman who had been kidnapped, and the kidnappers had released a video and sent a ransom demand of 5 million shillings. This story had a happy ending yesterday when the woman was rescued somewhere in Kayole, just 300 meters from the Kayole police station at a place called Matopeni. So it turns out that the kidnappers grabbed her from Isili. They put her in a water drum and then transported her. She says she wasn't aware where she had been. She was taken after she was kidnapped. She appeared tortured, and her hands were tied with a cable and the mouth covered with a cloth. Her mouth was swollen with visible injuries on the face. She had an injured finger. A big story here. So kids were playing around next to this house where the woman had been held. So when she heard that there were people playing outside, she started making noise and asking them, please, please, please call somebody. Kids went to their parents and said, there's a woman who's screaming there that she's saying she wants to be rescued. The people went and they actually heard her speak. And so they went to the police station. And a team of DCI also came and they rescued the woman. And she had all those visible injuries. One suspect was arrested by the DCI to assist police with investigations. It's a happy ending to a very scary story of how somebody can just be abducted like that on the 15th of June and rescued 5 days later. Imagine what she went through. Imagine what her family was going through. Especially when that video is sent to you and you can see she has actually been beaten. She's in distress.
More and more of these are being reported. And I think that if we're seeing more of them being reported, and it's only then shedding light on the fact that it's happening more and more, and that people are getting more and more desperate to have an extra coin or to look for a coin that they didn't even have in the first place, and then are causing harm and a lot of distress to a number of families. We are seeing a lot more of this. And now imagine those who've not been rescued or those who've not been saved. I mean, we saw a couple of weeks ago a story of a little girl who was killed. The money never came. The frustration was felt by the kidnappers and they decided to take her life.
Yep.
How many more of these are we seeing? I think it's going beyond just the frustrations that people feel. Now, it's crossed over that threshold of just major. It's criminal now.
And it doesn't even look at age. So we talked about that young child. We're talking about this 25-year-old woman and a 79-year-old man who was kidnapped. He was coming from Kitale going to Kisii. The 79-year-old man ran into trouble as he was abducted, kept in different houses for more than 2 weeks, and his family was asked to fork out 2 million shillings ransom. The ordeal that Mr. Kennedy Bosire, who's a relative of Kisii Senator Sam Ongeri, endured until his rescue by a team of detectives on last Tuesday, is horrendous. His wife, Rhoda, even raised an issue that the travel was planned in a hurry, asking him to leave in the morning. But instead, Bosire wanted to go. He took a 70 shillings motorbike to Mailisaba stage, that's in Kitale, but he soon realized his journey to Kisii might not be possible as all the cars available only wanted to terminate their trips in Eldoret. Keen to take the earliest matatu out of town, the old man decided to book a room instead of going back home and do the trip back to the matatu stage in the morning. So the attempt to book a room at the SkyNest Hotel was not possible, as a room going for between 2,000 and 3,000 was way beyond his plan. He went further down the road and paid 600 shillings for a room. I had a nice meal and later on requested the attendant to wake me up the following morning around 4 a.m. because I had a long journey and I wanted to be in Kisii early for the hospital visit. Scared but happy, Bosire told the nation at his home last Thursday. At around 3 a.m., Bosire was already up, prepared himself and left his room. At the gate, he asked a watchman if he could get a motorbike to town and was told to walk towards the road where he could easily get one. He waited but didn't see any boda, so he decided to walk slowly towards town, hoping to get a rider. When he reached the All Saints Cathedral area near SkyNest Hotel, he saw a motorbike approaching him from the other side of the road. He asked the rider if he was heading to town. He agreed to pay 50 bob, but after connecting the T-junction to the main road towards Kitale, the rider diverted to a different direction towards the Kenya Forest Service. Just like that, a man, 79-year-old man, is hijacked just like that. And you can imagine the shock, and he's wondering now, what on earth is going on?
Yes, exactly.
What's happening?
More and more. I mean, I know that it does call for vigilance, but at the same time, really looking at what's going on in terms of now the increase in crime, a lot of focus then needs to be put on this.
Yep.
Oh, okay. So the question is being asked, is time ripe to appoint female caddies? So, on April 26th, was it? Yes, it was this year actually. Miss Nusrat Mohammed took to Twitter to vent her frustrations over the Kadis court over a delay in concluding her divorce case, reigniting a debate about the subordinate court. In her tweet, she narrated her 1-year struggle to divorce a man whom she claimed was separated from her for 9 years and had even married another woman. In Islamic law, according to several scholarly articles, men are able to divorce unilaterally, while women must secure their husband's consent. Former Deputy Chief Qadi Sheikh Rashid Omar said the subordinate court had also raised the bar on divorce cases to protect the institution of marriage. If we were to grant divorces every time a man quarreled with his wife, they would accuse us of dividing families. Women's rights advocacy groups in Mombasa said such reasoning had given unruly husbands freedom to mistreat their wives. In her tweets, Mohammed claimed that as long as the Qadi's court remained rigid in its approach to marital cases, women would seek alternatives. She says, "We refuse to put aside to rot because of one-sided enforcement of Sharia law." The Qadi's court then ruled that there was nothing that could be done, prompting her to take to social media. Women Qadis. The tweets rekindled the discussion that began in 2011 on whether or not it was time that the JSC appointed women Qadis, with proponents giving the examples of Egypt, Jordan, Malaysia, Palestine, Tunisia, Sudan, and the UAE that have women Qadis. In 2011, the then Chief Justice Willy Mutunga, an adherent of the Islamic faith, suggested that Kenya should have women Qadis. His views were backed by the current Chief Qadi Sheikh Ahmed Mutar, who said there was no law in Islam that bars women from the position. Women can be Qadhis as long as they are qualified. Yesterday, former Chief Qadhi Hamad Kasim said that the JSC had not indicated that the post was only for men. If women can become judges or presidents, what is wrong with having a woman to serve as the Qadhi? So this conversation now is front and center. And the issue now is not whether they can because they're qualified, but because tradition and religion then would allow a woman sit in this forefront position as a Muslim.
But they've given example
Yes,
of
they've
all
given
these other
examples of
countries,
other countries where it happens.
which some of these countries are actually Islamic countries even, and they have women Qadhis. So I think it's a good way that she started that conversation. She has mainstreamed the conversation. And now, when time comes to keep appointing Qadhis, pressure mounts. And there'll be a glare on, okay, so how many women have applied? Are women applying to become Chief Qadhis? So are they being interviewed by the JSC? Is the JSC going to consider them?
One of the reasons why they're not applying.
Whose input are they going to? Yes, one of the reasons.
One of the reasons why they're not applying, according to former Deputy Chief Qadhi Sheikh Rashid Omar, according to the Sunni Madhab, which is a school of thought to which people in East Africa specifically subscribe, it explicitly discourages women Qadhis.
Okay.
You know, if you're talking about...
So we're even looking at different sects within Islam.
Yes.
Well,
yeah.
If you look at the Christian faith, discussions such as this have been in the offing for the longest possible time. And some branches of the Christian faith have actually overcome it, and you even have women bishops. But the discussions have gone beyond just gender. It has gone to issues of sexuality and sexual preference. Should gay individuals be actually nominated, allowed to have positions within the church?
The church, yes.
The Anglican Church split on that particular... They split. There were those who felt people who are gay can actually rise up and go up the hierarchy and become and hold those high positions. There are those who adamantly said not happening. So, if you're talking about church leadership, I think the
religious leadership, right?
Yes. Thank you. The yardstick you want to use are the norms that that particular faith subscribe to.
It's the members of the faith who will determine what happens.
Yes.
The Catholic Episcopal in America is actually meeting to take a vote on whether they should allow Biden to take the Holy Communion. Why? Because Biden has publicly come out to speak in support of abortion and gay rights. Big conversations taking place. Keep it right here. Let's take a look at the news and then more discussions. Good morning. It's now 7 a.m.
Spice up your life. The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.
This is Newswire on Daily Session. Churches in the COVID-19 hotspot zones remained closed to their congregants following the Ministry of Health directives that all places of worship suspend gatherings following the high numbers of COVID-19 in the region. A spot check in the area indicated that the order was followed, with church leaders indicating that the directive is for the best, but some citizens say the government should work with them to achieve the social distancing requirements.
All we need to do as a church and with the government is to agree on what we can do to ensure that our citizens are safe. I think safety comes first, then any other thing can follow. Because even as we are not interested in serving dead people, we want living people.
I used to come here every Sundays, and I think this is a good place. Come and kneel down for God. The government should help us at least social distance in the church around 2%, but not closing the whole church.
Hafsa Mohammed Lukman, the Kamkunji-based businesswoman who disappeared on June 15, has been rescued by detectives. The 23-year-old woman was found in a dingy room in Matopeni within Kayole, where she had been forced to fit in a water tank. Here are the residents who helped with the rescue.
Ilikuwa imeandikiwa namba ya simu, aliandika please call me on this number or find me on Facebook. Na kaandika namba ya simu akaeka hapo. So watu wakashangaa hii namba ni ya nini? Wakaguza hiyo kitabu. Kuguza hiyo kitabu wakaitoa, wakapata ni hiyo namba ya simu. Huyu msana wakati alisikia mtu ameguza hiyo mlango, akasema ni mimi niko hapa ndani.
Kitu yenye aliniambia tafadhali niokoe, nitakulipa chochote yenye unataka. Endu niitie polisi wakuje waniokoe.
According to DCI, Hafsa, who was last seen at her clothing shop, was kidnapped by a criminal gang that demanded a ransom of 5 million shillings in exchange for her freedom. 2 siblings are fighting for their lives in hospital after their father stabbed them several times following a domestic violence incident in Ziwani Estate, Nyandarua County. Ken Mburu is said to have run berserk and stabbed the 2 minors aged 7 and 1 years, set their house ablaze and then attempted to commit suicide by stabbing himself in the stomach. The suspect and the minors are currently admitted at the Nyeri County Referral Hospital. Former NACADA chairperson John Mutudho is urging President Uhuru Kenyatta to assent to the Narcotics, Drugs and Psychotropic Substances Control Amendment Bill 2020. Mutudho says the bill, which was passed by Parliament more than a month ago, had the solution in dealing with the ever-rising cases of drug use among the youth within the country and at the same time punish the drug lord. And Kabras Sugar winger Derek Ashiundu scored a brace as Kabras RFC beat the national 15s team 23-15 in a friendly match staged at the RFUEA grounds. Ashiundu is currently serving a 9-week ban from Kenya Cup-related activities for recklessly tackling a player whose feet were off the ground. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto.
Okay, headed towards the city, right at Ngara, at the Fig Tree, into the CBD is at an absolute standstill. So if you've not gotten to that area yet, the best option for you to do is divert onto Wangari Maathai. Use that this morning. It's not happening, guys. Ngara getting in towards the Globe Cinema overpass, it's crazy. It's another cold Monday, Thika Road, and we're asking ourselves, what's going on, guys? Moving very slowly out into the city. The fog is very low in 2 areas specifically, coming out of Kikuyu, coming beyond from Thika area onto the Thika Superhighway. So please be careful. Fog lights up. It's absolutely necessary this morning. The bypasses will do you some good today. Southern, Eastern, and Red Hill. We saw that little accident that happened right around Outer Ring, slowed things down some. Hopefully it will not take us for too long. Mombasa Road also looking all right from the Cabanas towards General Motors now. And then we are also seeing that Uhuru Highway from the stadium through to Westlands, in and outbound, is going to be one for the books today, because those areas that had been closed off last week are still what? They're still closed off. So we have to take it with caution and take it easy. Places that will be stuck, tell us what you see. SpiceFM KE on Twitter, text on 40127. Let's try and keep it moving.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
5 minutes after 7, Kenya's biggest conversation. It continues. As we begin the hour, let's hear today's proverb, City.
When vultures surround you, try not to die.
Look alive, people. Look alive.
When vultures surround you, try not to die.
Mm-hmm.
Same with hyenas, I suppose.
Yes. Hyenas aren't quite like vultures. You know, vultures are known to prefer
dead.
Yes. Dead creatures. Hyenas. No, them, they are very democratic about it. They don't really mind. Dead, good. Alive, good. On the way to dying, good.
Yeah.
You know? Yes.
Not going to put up much of a struggle here. No. We don't need that drama chasing up and down.
They know, they understand food. If it's walking, still food. Incapacitated, food.
But better when incapacitated, of course.
Yes. If you look weak, the hyena will
That's
pounce.
the one they like.
In fact, better still, if someone else has actually done the job and you're dead.
Yes.
Okay? and has had their fill, that's the ideal situation.
You know, they're not coming back.
No.
Yeah.
No struggle. No stress. Ready-made food.
Yes.
As they say, nyama tayari.
It's all coming.
So.
Okay. Ndu,
Yes.
the deputy president was having meetings over the weekend.
Yes.
The president and the ODM leader was also having meetings.
Mm-hmm.
The president is scheduled to have some meet the people in this coming week.
They left Kisumu. They came back to Nairobi. And then they've gone to West Pokot. I'm saying they. I'm not going to split anybody here because it's all of them collectively combined doing nonsense.
The whole lot.
All of them. Doing what? Doing nonsense. West Pokot, Coast. Another one is planning to go to Ukambani and Mount Kenya to rally up support for whatever we don't know just yet. But that is not even the point. The point is that you know very well that as you go where you're going, there are throngs of people who are going to follow you and they're going to lay in your wake, wanting to see you, hear you, whatever it is that you have to say. Whatever it is that you have to do to also get them to come into these large crowds, you are going to do. My question is, what happened to the directive when you said no social gatherings and no bringing of people together in large numbers to listen to I don't know what, about whom or where or why? What happened to that directive? Or did COVID suddenly leave us when we're talking about these political rallies? These political rallies are happening today. COVID numbers are rising today. You've asked Kenyans to keep social distance and do what they need to do to make sure that they don't contract this deadly virus. But what are we doing? We're having political rallies to drum up support for what I do not know in the face of the fact that people could contract the virus and die. And we're still doing this today. And my question this morning is why? Why are we having these rallies as though this thing doesn't matter? It is flying in the face of a directive that was given from the executive about holding on. The 42 days have not lapsed. The 42 days have not lapsed. And if anything, we're going right into the place where we said that there will be a fourth wave in this country. But what are we doing? We're coming together in large groups of people and throwing caution to the wind. So then we come back and then we say, this COVID is real. People are going to die. Oh, let's be very careful about this thing. But then we're having these rallies. Are we not wondering at that point what is going to happen? Or is it just not serious when it's a political leader now who is at the forefront of these things? Why? Why do we say one thing and do another? Why do we preach water and drink wine? And then you come and tell Kenyans tomorrow that actually, you know what? Most of the responsibility lies on your shoulders. Why are you doing it?
Is there something these leaders know about COVID that we don't?
I'm annoyed.
I think it is appropriate for you to be not just annoyed, to actually be enraged. Because, or is it that they themselves have taken the precaution of being fully vaccinated, so they don't really give a hoot what happens to the rest of their people? Now, there is something about legacy here that we keep talking about. Do these leaders actually think that they are going to continue with these activities, which we know will lead to the spread of the COVID virus, which we know will render many people sick, which we know will kill many people, and the numbers will keep increasing? Do they actually think that their political fortunes will remain unchanged as the deaths of very many Kenyans will be on their head? Because that is precisely what is happening now.
Do you know what pains me? You lock people out from what is going to provide their daily livelihood. You tell people in the service industry that we cannot have people sitting in spaces of more than 3, 4, 5. Somebody had a job today, you give the directive, they don't have a job tonight. There are people then who cannot eke out a living for themselves because you've given this directive. Well and good, because you know that people ought to be protected. In the same breath, in fact, the saliva has not dried from where you're using to say that thing that you're now using to do political rally. And the same people are listening to you who are not able to put bread on the table. What are we doing? What are we doing? You will not allow people to sit in a restaurant, 10 people around a table, but then it is okay to have a political rally where thousands of people come together to listen to you say what about how it's going to change their lives, in which way specifically. What are we doing? And can we not see this doublespeak that's happening? Can we not see the doublespeak that's going on here? So are we truly interested in protecting the lives of Kenyans from COVID-19? Then stop it across board.
What is the issue? The big issue? Is the big issue the fact that leaders in political leaders are going about holding meetings or visiting places? Or is the issue that the fact that Kenyans don't also seem to mind the leaders doing what they're doing?
I think it's a combined issue here. I don't think we can put one finger, unfortunately, I don't think we can put one finger on it. But if we are saying in one, and I think it goes both ways. You're saying, okay, well, the political leaders are the ones who are coming up with these rallies. Okay, then don't go, right? But at the same time, if you're saying that we need to make sure that we are not spreading COVID and we're going to ban these things, then don't institute them, because Kenyans are also wondering, hold on a minute. You said that these things should not be happening because what we're trying to do is stop the spread of COVID. But then we're doing them. Was there a directive that was then announced later that said, all right, open season now, everybody can do as they wish? Did it change and we did not know?
I'm going to take another different approach to this conversation today. And this is looking at it from the citizen's perspective. Because look, the measures have been announced. The public education and awareness has already been made. A majority, if not all, Kenyans understand there is COVID-19. A majority, if not all, Kenyans understand what you need to do to avoid COVID-19, or at least reduce the chances of you getting infected with COVID-19. Now, there are those that believe that this thing is real. There are those that believe that this thing does not really exist yet. There are those that don't see the real and present danger yet. That's fine. But what is it that we, as the people, are doing about this? It's not that the deputy president or the prime minister or the president have said, I'm coming to this place and I want you people to come to this stadium on this particular day. In Kisumu during Madaraka Day, the government said more than once, we want to restrict the number of people who come to the stadium and we want to make it 3,000. And it'll be the people who receive the invitations. And the rest, if you don't get into the stadium, please just watch it from home. In fact, we advise you that try as much as possible that unless really you're one of those that have been invited, watch this thing from home or watch it from far. What did we see? Were people not breaking over themselves trying to access the stadium on the day? Were people not full on the streets, wanting to see and to hear these leaders talk to them? It's the same thing that we are seeing now in West Pokot. The deputy president went to open some institutions, some training college, some classrooms in a secondary school. He goes to a trading center. These photos that we are seeing are photos at a trading center where he is passing, and there are people who are there to listen to him, and he stops to talk to them.
People, it's a large crowd of people.
Substantial number of people are out there to listen to the deputy president. Why are these people out there? Forget the politicians and the politicians drawing crowds. If you look at the papers today, I was looking at a story just now where people were arrested yesterday because over 100 people were in a church despite all the orders that had been. The situation forced Kericho OCS Asman Mohammed to make a detour to Kakiptui dispensary, where a woman received first aid before being discharged. She fainted because police had come to arrest people. The members of this particular church had gathered in large numbers to attend church service. People have told you about the way curfew in some parts is just a suggestion. Go to some parts of this country and you will find pubs are operating full capacity at midnight, at 1 a.m. It is not politicians, but we will point our fingers at politicians all the time and say, you see now what is Ruto doing, what is Raila doing, what's Uhuru doing, oh, what's Kalonzo doing, why are they bringing these people are the ones who are failing us. You are in a bar at midnight saying, oh, these people are the ones who are failing us. They are not in that bar. So as much as we want to point fingers at politicians, let's ask ourselves, are politicians doing this? Did they get anybody out of their house? No.
You know, Eric, I'm listening to what you're saying. And I believe you do have an extremely valid point. But it's like, if you look at, for instance, the application of the law, is the law applied to people who are law-abiding? Yes, it is. They abide by the law. But when do we get a hue and cry? It's when people who have abrogated that law, has that law applied on them, it usually ends up in something called an arrest. Okay? And then we are being arrested. Why are you being arrested? Because of whatever reason. We are overloading, whatever you want to call it. But there is an understanding here of something that we talked about last week. Remember when I was referring to the word tyranny and referencing it to habits that we have and how it is that it is easier for us to keep doing the things that we've been doing rather than to change. And this was vis-a-vis the issue of who we elect, how we elect, and how we think about the electoral process and who we choose and how we choose it. Now, yes, the public have a duty to ensure their own safety. But my friend, the power that a leader has cannot be underestimated. And with that power comes responsibility. And the discussion here is the responsibility that is placed on the shoulders of the leaders is being abrogated by them. They are not living up to their end of the bargain. They have a duty. How do you say we will only ensure that 3,000 people come when you know full well, you've seen it, you've come to the town before the function, you've seen the crowds. Do you need to see bigger crowds for you to understand that come that Madaraka Day, you are going to have...
bursting at the seams.
Exactly. Do you really need, given the history of what we've had, when you see these political leaders, the main political leaders, are you telling me that if they go out into the public domain, crowds will not form? They will form. Responsibility. We have our responsibility, indeed, as citizens, as wananchi. But the power that political leaders have and the responsibility that goes with it, they have abrogated it. They have completely abandoned it, and the consequences are not unknown. How does the government give this partial lockdown that they're giving to a place that, and you can see, people are not being infected, they are dying. The health services, chock-a-blocked, are not coping. And you know what needs to be done. And yet, you give it, think about it. Give it the freedom. When the answer, we've seen it happening in this country, lock it down and then deal with it later. You now say you want to just have partial meetings when you know full well the moment certain leaders are in a public place, people will come. If you didn't go there, they wouldn't gather. It's not complicated. So why don't you do the thing that will guarantee that they don't gather?
And furthermore, if you are going to open a school, if you are going to open a lab, guess what? Go, open your lab, finish your job, and go home. You can't say, I was driving through the town and a mic suddenly fell into my hands and I decided, oh, okay, here is a microphone. Let me speak. No. Open your lab, open your school, your trading center, whatever it is that you're going to do, and go, because you know full well, by virtue of the fact that you're a political leader, you stand on the top of your vehicle, people will come. People will come. So if you're very interested in making sure that those crowds do not form, don't go. Don't go. Don't go. In as much as people have a responsibility, you also know that you're a magnet for crowds. Don't do it. Don't charge it up.
And it's because of that knowledge of the power that they have that they do what they do. Because essentially, there's an understanding that I need these people. It's important for me to communicate to them that I will require their support at a certain point in time. But at what cost, really?
I am okay with all those things that you guys are saying. Okay? But I want to point out that the instances that we see where politicians are drawing these crowds, yes, they're drawing crowds in their hundreds and in their thousands, are the outlier events that are causing the spread of this COVID-19. Very many of the things that the people are doing are causing the spread of COVID-19. Going to any matatu today, stop matatus on the road today. Are they crowded? Are they not? Yes, they are. Do people know that they should not be crowding? Yes, they do know that they shouldn't be crowding. But why are we doing what we are doing? 20 minutes after 7, let's take a break to look at the weather and then we continue this conversation. Good morning. This is Kenya's biggest conversation, The Situation Room.
...24/7, around the world, non-stop. This is Spice FM.
What is the best gift to celebrate a birthday? Cash, of course. What if I told you that you can get cold, hard cash for celebrating a birthday? This June, I, Olivia Otieno, is giving 10,000 shillings to 41 lucky SpiceFM listeners to celebrate my 41st birthday. That's right, this June, 41 lucky SpiceFM listeners will get 10,000 shillings cash. All you need to do is SMS the word cash to 29599. That's cash to 29599. And if your SMS is number 41 or number 1041 every Monday to Friday, you walk away with 10,000 shillings cash. Each SMS costs 10 shillings. Terms and conditions apply. Go to spicefm.co.ke for more details.
Living isn't just breathing. Living is about taking it all in. Living is not just getting by. Living is taking the roads less traveled. Living isn't just eating. Living is about the art of wining and dining. Living isn't just doing the mundane. Living is about savoring the finer things in life. Because living is not a chore. Living is an art. In the new season of The Art of Living, we explore unearthed gems and discover what makes them home away from home. Join Nailante Kenga as she engages with exciting guests and tours the most
Temperatures
exclusive
dropping slightly in
destinations.
Nairobi at 12. It'll go to highs of 23 today, lows of 14, and maintain mostly cloudy conditions throughout the day. 11 degrees and cloudy in Nyeri, highs of 20 and lows of 13. 23 will be the high in Nakuru. It's mostly cloudy at 14. It's 14 and sunny in Eldoret, highs of 23. 26 will be the high in Kisumu, where it's mostly cloudy at 18. It's 18 degrees and mostly cloudy in Kakamega, highs of 26 and lows of 14. Raining in parts of Mombasa at 23, highs of 28. Same thing in Malindi at 24, with highs of 27 and lows of 23 today. It's mostly cloudy in Kampala at 21, highs of 25 and lows of 17. Rain showers in Dar es Salaam at 23, highs of 29 and lows of 22. It's crisp and clear in Johannesburg at 6. It'll come down to lows of 4 and highs of 16. Rain showers in Lagos at 24, highs of 28 and lows of 24. And cloudy conditions in Kinshasa at 21, with highs of 31 and lows of 23.
Everything nice. All right. Okay. SpiceFM.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
All right, the conversation continues 25 minutes past 7 a.m. So we're seeing political rallies and meetings basically happening all over the country. The former Prime Minister has been touring the coast. The President and the national leadership held a meeting, toured Nyanza recently. The Deputy President was in West Pokot. The President is scheduled to go to Kambani later this week from the 28th. And all those things we're saying. So once the political leaders come to an area, once the leadership comes to a certain area, people are going to pour out into the streets or to the stadium or wherever the leaders are to see them, to hear from them. And now this gathering of many people becomes a super spreader event. But who bears the greater responsibility here for the spread of COVID-19? Is it the leader? Is it the citizen? Is it all combined? Is it 50-50? Where does the responsibility lie? There is, yes, what has been said, but the same government saying, reduce the gatherings, reduce the number of people who go to church, reduce the number of people who use public service vehicles, reduce the number of people who attend funerals or weddings, reduce the number of people who go to any public gathering, any meeting, reduce and control the number of people. And then leaders come and the people come. In West Pokot, as the Deputy President was speaking, there were thousands of people who came out to listen to him. at Makutano and the other places. When the president goes to Ukambani, he will be welcomed by very many people who will come out to listen to him. Should the president not be going to Ukambani? Should the people say, okay, you, Mr. President, come. You tell us where you're going to be. This place can hold 1,000 people, and that's the maximum. Fine. 1,000 people will come. The rest of us, we're going to hear. You send us an SMS of what you're saying, or a voice note on WhatsApp. Who bears the responsibility?
You know, there is something that politicians occupy themselves with, and we're hearing it more and more simply because of the tiered system we have of government. It's called a legacy. And people think it has to do with the projects that you initiated, you created, the development that you brought to your people, the changes that you brought. Yes, it is true, these things do form a legacy. But significantly, if you want to understand this, at least the way I look at it, I'm taking my mind back to multi-party politics before we actually had that change of our constitution that brought us back into a system that allowed more than just one party, okay? The repealing of Section 2A. Now, everything that happened from that point onwards, if you look at the many parties, Ford, then Ford Kenya, then Ford Asili, all these were products of that one particular event, all of them. To the point where you had NAC, and to the point where you had a Kibaki government, because that Kibaki government ushered a change and a culmination to everything else that had happened from 1997 onwards up to that particular point in time. Now, that marked a new beginning. But there is a beginning that we are talking about here that goes beyond multi-party politics. It's called an epidemic. And this epidemic in this country, a pandemic to the rest of the world, is killing people. Now, one of the things that I saw with multipartism, and I'm likening this to political power, up to the point when the Section 2A was repealed, KANU held sway. No one knew of Ford Asili, Ford Kenya, we just knew of Ford. But then came leaders who were aligned to certain parties. And the thing that happened, it was an onslaught. It was people who had been in KANU, in zones that were considered to have been anti the government. My friend, people made quips and made suggestions that some were derogatory, but the change was sweeping. Meaning, people voted. Why? Because they clearly wanted change and they were voting. They were speaking with their vote. What am I saying? People keep dying. Do you think they're going to blame themselves because they didn't wear masks? They didn't keep social distancing in matatus? No, they're not. They are going to blame the leaders. It is one of those moments that leaders don't seem to be seeing. People will see you as the individuals and the people who brought upon this calamity on them. These deaths, when I say it will be on the head, I mean it. It will be on their heads. It is how it will be seen. And I am saying this now. It is going to bring about changes come the election in 2022. Because people are going to look back and say, what did these people do to protect us? Because this is a time of need. This one now is a time of dire need. And if you're talking about legacy, this is where you stand up and be counted and say, this is the position I'm taking. I'm not following the popular route. I'm not doing what is normally done. I'm doing the thing that is correct and needs to be done. And these leaders are not doing that. And they will be judged by their action. Nothing more.
But people will be doing this and they'll be a lot unfair on the leaders. And this is why I'm saying, yes, we will look for somebody to blame. We will look for a dog to slaughter and sacrifice on this. But at what cost? What is the responsibility that people have? How many rallies has Uhuru held in Nairobi? And how many people have actually flouted the rules of COVID-19 in Nairobi? How many are flouting COVID-19 rules in Naivasha, in Nakuru, in Nyeri, in Mombasa, in Kilifi, all over the country? How many? How many people are not observing the rules? How many people are not observing the rules when they board public transport? How many people are not observing the curfew? How many people are not How many are not wearing masks?
And how do we see the
Those
government
people who came out
ensuring-
to listen to the deputy president yesterday, how many of them were actually wearing masks properly?
Who is in charge of enforcement? Yes, you have a responsibility to do your duty and to stay safe. Who has the duty to ensure that you get vaccinated? Who has the duty to ensure that everything that you need for your protection from a health perspective is provided for you? Is it yourself? Is it the government? Yes.
And those that put these rules in place to make sure that you do certain things. For example, to say that you are not in a public place. The 100 people that you said were arrested the other day because they were in church, right? Beyond the capacity that they should have been. There are rules that have been set aside for enforcement. The responsibility of the enforcement of such then lies on the same government. Now, when you see the same government then, the same leaders of the same government pulling crowds such as this, if they say the person who is enforcing the rules is also in the same boat, then what are we doing?
The power of that example...
It goes beyond what you can even start to describe.
Everything.
It throws everything out the window. Because you're saying, on one hand, this is what you ought to do. And I'm saying the saliva has not dried. You're using the same mouth to speak to people in crowds like this. Then, for goodness sake, whether we want to say it sounds right or irresponsible or not, the example that you take is what is emblazoned on your mind and your thinking, and you're going to tell yourself, consciously or otherwise, that you know what? Okay. So if anybody were to enforce, they're already actually aware. And this is what goes on in the minds of people, whether they choose to accept it or not. That, all right, the matatu is full. Well, I'm going to get it on anyway, because who's going to enforce? Who's going to enforce? Because these are the kind of examples that you see. It's unconscious, but it happens, and we can't run away from it.
And you know, it works both ways, Eric, and your point not being invalidated by this. You, the citizen who does not want to abide by the norms that you've been told, you will pay the price for it. Because the story had been, oh, but I don't know anyone who has COVID. Oh, COVID is only a Nairobi thing. Oh, and the stories continued. Right now, in that area of the geographical area we refer to as Nyanza, a lot of people said those very same things. Right now, people know, not one, not two, they know many people who are dying, and it is COVID-related complications. They know. So the story of do you know, that one has gone out of the window. They now know.
Yep.
They are now witnessing.
Yep.
They are now experiencing it.
Yes.
So at the individual level, you don't do your bit, you will pay a very steep price.
And as they know all these things, as they see practically this happening, are they changing? Are they changing the habits? There hasn't been any public rally in that region, in a specific village or a specific ward where people know more than 20 people who've died recently of COVID-19. Is there observance and adherence to the COVID measures being followed?
I want to argue.
Or does it need police officers to come and enforce? Does it need police officers to walk around patrolling and telling you, get home, it's already past 7? Does it need police officers to come and arrest you, telling you, wear your mask? Or are people seeing, okay, it's true, there's COVID, let me take my personal responsibility?
That is the ideal situation that we should arrive at. And I cannot say that I know what needs to be happened before people actually understand that, you know something, I need to do this. No, I cannot. But what I do know is that because of this dual hideous companionship that the citizenry have with their government, each of them flaunting the rules, that more people are definitely going to die. And the reality of what I'm saying is people will not take responsibility for the deaths and the infections. They will look for somebody to blame. And unfortunately, the blame will cascade and it will reflect in the elections. Leaders may not think so, but I'm saying it will.
That's what you see happening.
Oh, it's going to happen.
I don't think it's going to happen.
This is the beauty of perspective, isn't it?
I don't think it's going to happen. We will wait and see. If it were to happen, then people would not be attending these meetings. Because people would already be thinking, there's an election next year, I don't trust this leader, I don't like how this leader is behaving, and therefore part of me protesting what they're doing is by not attending their meetings.
Do you think people are coming out to these meetings to hear what it promised or what it is that is going to be said about a future leader at this point? People are out here in these rallies because of what they think they're going to get on the particular day.
Come on, these thousands of people are not here to queue for handouts. You know
Oh,
this
yeah.
whole culture.
Eric.
There's thousands
you
of
think
people.
these people have stood here and they're saying, actually, I'm very interested in what he has to say about what he's going to do should he become president in 2022?
They are here because they are showing support for William Ruto. Period.
Nope.
Are they coming here because each of these people, yes, we are looking at a photo here of thousands of people at a trading center. That you think all these people are here because they came Ruto is here, we are going to get 100 shillings.
Some rain will land on your hands.
There's
the hope that it will rain on you. There's the hope that you will get something.
How soon do people disperse from these meetings? Almost immediately. Guy goes, people they go back to what they were doing. Let's not insult people, by the way, guys.
But where does the insult come in?
By saying that they're coming out here because they're coming for money.
But that's
That
what
has been the case. A lot of people go for these rallies because there will be something that will be given.
Was that the
It's not
same
an
thing that
insult,
people
it's a reality.
when we were seeing people in Kondele
Yes.
lining up? They were coming out because they were expecting money.
Yes.
Thousands
People
of people.
expecting to get a handout.
Out of what? Out of
Yes.
experience
People
of 1,000
go
people
there.
People go for small meetings, they get money. People don't go for big meetings like this to get money.
Eric, they do. They do.
They do.
People go there with the expectation that you will get something.
It doesn't matter whether a small group gets it. There's the hope that some of it may land on you. There's always that hope.
23 minutes to 8 o'clock. I disagree, but let's hear from you. 0719-012-600. Where's the responsibility in curbing COVID-19? Is it these political leaders as they are going around holding meetings? Is it the people who are attending these meetings? Is it the people who are flouting rules left, right, and center? Or not wearing masks, not washing hands, not observing social distance? All of that. Where does it lie? Good morning. Let's hear from you.
24/7 around the world, non-stop. This is Spice FM.
Hello.
Halo, umesikia?
Nimesikia nini?
Hujasikia habari? Hebu acha nikuambie. Kile kimetokea.
Hello? Hello? Hello?
Don't wait for hearsay. Dial *550*1# to read the standard e-paper from the convenience of your mobile phone for only 20 shillings from your telecom line, and stay up to date for a reliable source with over 100 years of experience with no additional data charges.
"24/7 around the world, non-stop. This is Spice FM.
What is the best gift to celebrate a birthday?
Cash, of course.
What if I told you that you can get cold, hard cash for celebrating a birthday? This June, I, Olivia Otieno, is giving 10,000 shillings to 41 lucky Spice FM listeners to celebrate my 41st birthday. That's right, this June, 41 lucky Spice FM listeners will get 10,000 shillings cash. All you need to do is SMS the word cash to 29599. That's cash to 29599. And if your SMS is number 41 or number 1041 every Monday to Friday, you walk away with 10,000 shillings cash. Each SMS costs 10 shillings. Terms and conditions apply. Go to spicefm.co.ke for more details.
Losing a loved one is never easy. The lingering memories, the what-ifs, but in all the gloom, we find ways of celebrating them. And here at the Standard Tributes, we aim to give your loved ones that befitting send-off. Visit www.standardmedia.co.ke/tributes today and post your loved one's tribute. In addition, get
Okay, so there's that heavy traffic right around Ngara getting into the city centre this morning. And also Mombasa Road coming from the Cabanas headed towards the General Motors. It's not too bad today. So where we're seeing there was an accident on Juja Road this morning. Lorry overturned. It's stopping traffic on the highway, then getting out towards the Safari Park Hotel. Along that stretch, very heavy traffic there this morning, and Bunyala Road approaching Nairobi Stadium roundabout industrial area is not moving a little bit, is not moving. We're at an absolute standstill. So we're looking at that whole industrial area part coming out towards Bunyala and then going towards the roundabout. The advice right now is to just keep going south. Go towards Langata Road and then out towards Bagathi Way. That's the way that's going to help this morning, because sticking on Mombasa Road and then trying to go out towards Uhuru Highway is not working and it's not helping. All right, so those are options for us to use this morning. The bypass is also looking pretty good. Talk to us on Spice FM KE this morning and let us know what it is, where you're stuck, or if you find a good route, let us know that as well. Text on 40127.
87.9 Spice FM, Mombasa. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4.
To 8, the conversation continues. We want to hear from you. 0719-012-600. Where does the responsibility lie in curbing the spread of COVID-19, or the greater responsibility, let's just put it that way? Is it in the leadership, or is it also in the citizens? We'd like to hear from you. SpiceFM KE, YouTube, Facebook and Twitter. Political leaders are going around the country. They're holding meetings and people are coming out to attend these meetings. And we are known this to be super spreader events. Also, we see people in their own very small ways, some observing COVID-19 measures, others not. Shurage says the rally isn't a handout situation. It's more of just coming to see him, a Kenyan thing. When politicians pass by, the handout situation is delegation during meetings. Yeah, when people go to meetings as a delegation. A group of, for example, remember the ones who were conned in Isiolo? They had been told, we are organizing a meeting to go to Karen, to the deputy president's residence, and we are paying X amount of money, and it's just a small group of people. And those ones are clear. It's a business expedition. Coming to Karen, going back, expecting to go home with at least X amount of money each. It was clear. I think those ones where it's impromptu, the person is passing and people come out. Not all of them are coming out there expecting a handout. Some are just coming there to see the man. Others are coming here to support and express support for the man, and he passes. Same thing we see with the president coming out in many places. When he was launching clinics and people would come out, people were not even saying it, give us money. They're just saying,
I want to give a contrary view to that. These aren't spontaneous gatherings in many cases. They are spontaneous gatherings maybe, but by and large, many politicians actually have a budget for mobilization. They know the days they're going to go there. They know what they want to do. And they actually fund the mobilization process for people to actually come out.
I totally agree with you. And those that have been mobilized are known. This number of people have been mobilized. Come out and here's your money to attend the meeting. Or come out, attend the meeting, and then we meet each other on the side, and this is it. There are many others who will come out because you have this small group of people that's already come out, that's formed a crowd, so others are joining the crowd. Many others are joining the crowd because there's a crowd and they're seeing, who's passing? Ruto is passing. I come out to see him, to hear him. Not necessarily because I'm coming out to see who has the purse, who's been given the money, how much are we receiving. Not necessarily. Let's hear from the callers. Jackson in Kisii. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you, Jackson?
How are you?
We're fine, thanks.
I wanted to agree and disagree with you.
Jackson, there's an issue with your line. Let's try and get you back on a clearer line. It's not very clear. Karanja in Naivasha, good morning.
Good morning, Eric, Edu and CP.
Good morning.
Good morning, Karanja.
Yes, how are you, sir?
Fine, thanks.
We're well, thank you.
Yes. This hectic political Doboro maneuvers is going on around the country, isn't it?
Yep.
We have what we call the principles of collective of responsibilities. So each and every person is entitled to make sure that his or her safety. For instance, going to the public meetings is not an issue, provided you have gone through what we call the MOH precautions, isn't it? So to me, the attitude of the people need to change. Another thing is, where are the principles of collective responsibility to the politicians, to the people, and to everybody?
Okay.
If we do this, things will be better.
Thank you, thank you
Yes,
very much,
thank you very much.
Karaoke in Lavington, good morning.
Yeah, good morning, awesome trio.
Good morning, Karaoke.
I don't know why the gentleman from Naivasha says that meetings are all right. And that is not the reason, actually, why I called, but I just got intrigued that he's saying, provided that members of the public attending rallies adhere to, the public health protocols. you can't control that. I mean, there will be stampedes. There'll be mingling too close.
Yeah.
So it's very difficult to have a rally and at the same time adhere to, especially if it's spontaneous, like in the case of Madaraka Day in Kisumu, where people are surging forward to meet up with a convoy of the various leaders. But anyway, in my view, I think the question was, whose responsibility is it? I think the responsibility goes to both the leadership and the flock.
Equally?
The flock being led by the flock.
Equally?
I mean, the people. No.
Do they bear
it's not
equal
equal.
responsibility?
That was my next point.
Uh-huh.
I don't think the level of responsibility certainly differs by degree, because the leaders have greater responsibility. I'll give you an example. Where I live, there is a family. I hope they're not listening. But there is a family whose kids are normally, everybody points to them when something happens. They're kind of delinquent, all right? Now, when you look at their dad, we have designated parking for every, house. But here's a parent who, parks anywhere. People on WhatsApp are, making complaints and saying, hey, somebody has parked in mine. Usually we know even before we look at the registration of the car. We know who is the culprit. The point is that when leadership fails, it shows in the followers. And you can actually tell how followers behave from their leadership. So somebody like the Honorable CS should invoke the Public Health Act or resign. In any case, I think I read that he wants to vie for governorship somewhere in central Kenya. And usually resignations turn you into an instant hero, especially when you're climbing down from a seat in government. So we should see the leadership flexing their muscle, and it goes all the way to the top. So it differs by degree, responsibility, but there's a greater responsibility on the part
of the leader. Thank you, Karaoke.
Yeah. All right, thanks.
Thank you. 0719-012-600. Jackson, we can, I think our issue is more on our line. So Jackson, we can hear what you wanted to contribute. 0719-012-600. The issue of responsibility and who bears a greater responsibility. Well, Karaoke has given a good example of a parent and the children, and the power of example as well, and the power of the power of example, and how that responsibility then translates to the citizens. I am of this school of thought that if the citizens of a country get to a point where they're tired of their leadership, they change their leader. If they're tired of the system of government, they change the system of government. If they're tired of the way things are done, they take action. For as long as the citizens of Kenya are not taking action on any of these things, they're the ones who are actually actively participating by outpouring onto the roads to listen to their leaders. They're the ones who are actively participating by now filling up the matatus and all the other public service vehicles, but still pointing a finger at the leader. It's the people. The people have a responsibility here. The people are actually the ones leading the leader at this point. The leader is following because he knows the people have no problem at all if I stop here and if I say I'm coming to your region on the 28th, people have no issues at all. If I say I'm going to come to West Pokot, people have absolutely no issue at all.
So are you saying that if a leader then, whomever it is, arrives in a public area and there was nobody to show up for his or her meeting or appearance, then that would be showing responsibility in that, you know what, we actually are not interested in whatever it is that you have to say, and that we're not interested in putting our lives at risk by coming out in large numbers to hear you. So the responsibility lies squarely on the shoulders of the citizens to not come out for things like this.
Yes. Once they do that, the message will be home and clear. Jackson in Kisii, now we can hear you. Good morning. Hello, Jackson.
Good morning. Yeah, good morning, Eric.
Morning.
Okay, I wanted to ask a question. Must we have these political rallies or must we have these political meetings for now? I know we are heading to election, but must we have these meetings, rallies?
No way, we shouldn't. We must not.
We must not. When we have a rally, it's not necessarily, for instance, me, I live in Kisii, in the village in Kisii. Yeah. If I hear Ruto is coming to Kisii town, where should I go? And I believe Ruto does not, when he comes to town, or whoever is coming to town, when he comes to town, he doesn't necessarily need that person from the village. He needs the people who are in town. So in one way or the other, I want to agree and disagree with both of you, all of you, either way. That when they come, when people come, they're coming for money, and when they come, they are not coming for money. How they are not coming for money is people are always in town. So when whoever leader is passing by knows he will meet people in town, regardless of whether they are coming from the village or whether they are coming from the homes in town. But there are always people in town. So I don't think it's the leaders who are to blame for the people who are, the masses who are surrounding them.
Okay.
But in one way or the other, at least these politicians need some support. And of course, we have psychopaths. And we have people who expect something, regardless of whether they are something being given or they are not.
That's true.
So either way, either us and the people, the politicians who are to blame.
Thank you, Jackson. Dr. Omar in Kilifi, good morning.
Good morning, good morning. How are you, awesome trio?
Good morning.
Thank you very much. My opinion regarding this matter, I tend to agree more with Eric that as much as both the leadership and us, the general public, have responsibility, I think the majority of the responsibility falls on us, the public. So however much laws are placed, curfews, lockdowns, but the ultimate responsibility falls on us, because at the end of the day, the government cannot completely force us to observe these particular protocols, you know. So it is upon us to take it upon ourselves to mitigate, to understand that we need to stay home as much as we can, to avoid contact and whatnot. Though the government and leadership is also not absolved of a responsibility, because what they're doing is shambolic. In Kenya today, we are always in a cycle of this election frenzy, you know, with rallies every day, with these collection of people in religious places and whatnot, you know. So they bring up the laws and they break the same laws. So how do they expect us to follow them? You know, so they say, oh, we have banned all collection of more than 100 people. Then they make Madaraka Day, which is 3,000 people or 5,000 people. So that is nonsensical, you know, it doesn't make sense.
True. That's true. Thank you very much, Omar.
Okay, thank you. Have a good day.
Asante. John in Mombasa, good morning.
Good morning, Situation Room.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Hope you're well.
We are well.
Yes.
My point is this, My contribution should be that the onus of responsibility is twofold. There's the responsibility of we the people, and there's the responsibility of the leaders. But you have to understand now, when it comes to the onus or the responsibility of the people, who are me and you, there are other factors to be look. The factors now that it's hand is that if the leaders themselves can call us to rallies, then we don't take the COVID issue seriously. Then you have to understand that there's a lot of bitterness and a lot of grudges along the societies because of the poverty rate that we have. So people tend to rebel. If government have directives right now and people are angry about the government, the best they can do is rebel against the government, irrespective of what that rebellion gonna cause in their person. Me being sick doesn't really take precedence as far as I want to prove to the government that I can rebel against its directive. And here is a political leader who is giving people hope. that he's gonna be able to raise them from the situation they are in and raising up. So they go there because they want to be hopeful that things gonna be different. So they go to Dr. Ruto's meetings because they think this is the leader who gonna elevate them from the situation they find themselves in. And that's what I think, because these things are deep and people have a mind of their own. So I tend to agree with Eric that it's not all about money, because you can call 5,000 people and you expect those people to be given money. If you look at the pyramid of the way people are brought together by the political parties, the first person up there will get maybe 1,000 shillings. The person down there will get at least 50 bob. So how can I lose my 1 hour to go and get 50 bob? So it's more deeper than that, my view.
Thank you, John.
John has a valid point, but we are talking about desperation.
You'd be surprised what people will come out for.
That's really it, because you see, it isn't as though on this lovely balmy day, these citizens had this plethora of choices of, should I go for the rally? Should I continue with my business? Should I
eat this feast that's laid out before me?
The vast majority of people who attend these rallies, it's not as though they had something big that they were doing. Not really. So, whether you want to call it entertainment, whatever reason, but because rallies of that sort are known to have some money, the hope that some of it might get to you, it's not possible to give that entire crowd money. But the person who goes to that particular meeting doesn't think like that. That is what I'm saying. They hope.
There are people, CT, there are people who will go out there for that meeting with that hope, with that expectation. Okay? And they know how to network themselves to get that 50 bob. There are people who will go for that meeting. Yes, if money is available and it comes to me, fine. But it's not the main reason why I came out here. I came out here because I was in the market today. It was market day and Ruto happens to come. And I wanted to go home and tell people, when Ruto came, I was there. There are people who want to say, I wanted to just look at Ruto. I've never seen Ruto. There are people who want to see that whole movement and display of power, the number of vehicles and motorbikes and outriders. That's the story they'll be telling. The issue of money, if they get the money, fine. But everything else is what made them stand out there and crane their neck to see the deputy president and stand for a while to listen to leader after leader from MCA to whoever until the point when the deputy president says, ama namna gani? And they were like, kweli. They were saying kweli not for money, but they were saying kweli because they're in the moment. Here is a national leader who is in my town, and I am here, and I am part of the people who saw him when he came. Continue these conversations into the next hour. Good morning. This is the Situation Room, broadcasting on SpiceFM and online. It's now 8 a.m.
Spice up your life. The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.
This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Asseto. A total of 1,106 patients are currently admitted in various health facilities countrywide, while 5,488 patients are under home-based isolation and care program. 99 patients are in ICU, 32 on ventilatory support, and 50 on supplemental oxygen. Nairobi led with 88 cases, Kisii 33, Uasin Gishu 26, and Kisumu 24 respectively. Hospital ward MCA Eric Wafula, a victim of COVID-19, has warned people not to ignore the protocols issued by the Health Ministry and the WHO aimed at controlling the spread of COVID-19. He says he went through a difficult time in October and November last year and that the illness caused him mental problems while he was quarantined at home.
Ukweli ni kwamba COVID iko. Mimi nilikuwa victim wa COVID mwaka jana, karibu nikufa. Mambo ya COVID sio ya kuichukulia kimzaha. Watu wangu wa hospital ward karibu 50 wenye nimejua wamekufa COVID. Hata mimi ningependa kuwa kwangu saa moja, lakini ubaya ya COVID itakulazimisha utakaa kwa nyumba. Nilikaa kwa nyumba miezi 2. Watu wangu walikuwa wanakuja, wakifika kwa gate nawaambia serikali imenikataza msinisongeni karibu.
Meanwhile, Interior CS Fred Matiang'i will today meet with the National Council of Religious Leaders for consultations aimed at targeting the war on COVID-19. Worshipping has been frequently affected as gatherings, including in places of worship, are usually banned. Matiang'i is expected to emphasize the need for adherence to the protocols. Security continues to be tightened in Isiolo County following an attack that left 5 people dead. According to Isiolo Commissioner Herman Shambi, preliminary investigations have revealed that the incident took place following a dispute over grazing land. The residents, however, argue that the government has neglected them.
Kama wakaji wa Isiolo County, kila county yote inajulikana, boundary yake inajulikana, so hatungeweza kukubali this kind of senseless killings ambayo happen, especially of women and young men in their own land. We want to appeal to the government through Matiang'i, the CS Internal Security, and to the President of the Republic of Kenya that the coronavirus, which has been a national issue, if only 3 people die today, it is in public domain. And when such young people of these nations and women are being killed, those things are not being even focused.
Police officers in Machakos County are conducting investigations to determine the cause of death of a 67-year-old man who was found dead last night at his home in Kikomini village. Masinga Police Commander Francis Siror said the man was in the kitchen while neighbors suspected he may have died trying to cook for himself as he was alone at home. His body has been transferred to Yatta mortuary for further investigation. As Team Kenya continues to prepare for the Tokyo Olympics, the government has moved in to ensure that all the back-end preparations are handled. The Sports Ministry and NOC have signed a memorandum of understanding that will see the two entities work together in ensuring that Team Kenya get the best support so that they can focus on performance and flying the Kenyan flag high. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto.
Okay, so this is Monday morning traffic, guys, and it's actually quite crazy. Kipande Road going towards Globe, so that was an option people are using. Going towards Globe because you can only come into the city from there. It's one way. We have serious traffic and then trying to join and get into the CBD. So if you're approaching Gara, going towards Globe, there is a jam-packed situation. The best option for you to use is to go round and use Wangari Maathai right now, unless you must get into the city via Tomboya. So that is what it looks like. Just be ready to sit there for a while. Uhuru Highway, all the way from the Nyayo Stadium roundabout through to Westlands, in and outbound. There we have a problem. We also see heavy traffic. Then on Jogo Road, we see heavy traffic in industrial area. And then Lunga Lunga, Bunyala, going towards Nyayo Stadium roundabout. Keep going south. That is the option today. Use Langata Road and then Bagathi Way into the city. So we're going to be using longer routes today, folks. But to avoid traffic, that's what we have to do. Visibility is also quite poor coming out of Kikuyu, and the fog is very low still, so you might want to put your fog lights on and use those. Let's take a look in about half an hour and see how this might have changed. SpiceFM KE on Twitter, talk to us there. You find a good route, let us know that as well, and we will share. Text as well on 40127.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Good morning to you, and how are you doing? Thank you very much for tuning in to The Situation Room on SpiceFM this and every weekday morning. We also live stream the show on SpiceFM KE, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. For the next 1 hour, we are also live on KTN Home. A very good morning to our audience who are joining us on TV. CT, today's proverb.
When vultures surround you, try not to die.
When vultures surround you, try not to die.
Please.
Because?
They will eat you.
But you're dead anyway.
Yes. They will still eat you.
If you don't want to be eaten by vultures, don't die.
Don't die.
Don't. Especially when they surround you.
Okay. And we also said the same thing could apply to hyenas as well.
It could.
Don't show weakness.
Hyenas shouldn't die. Okay, sorry.
If vultures surround a hyena.
Got it. Don't die, hyena.
Don't die. And the same. If hyenas surround you, vulture, don't die. But then metaphorically speaking, think about it. Vultures, hyenas, death.
Scavengers.
It doesn't have to be physical. No. I think sometimes the most alarming and worrying death is when one has and witnesses the slow but steady death of the individual will to actually do right. Or the individual will is then surrendered. That to me is a death like no other. Because then it's not you, the individual, who will die. You will actually die en masse. I chose this particular proverb simply because of what we are discussing, this issue of who takes the blame. You see, what the citizenry need to understand is if you allow yourself to die, okay?
You'll be eaten.
You will be eaten. And then you'll be gone completely.
When challenges come your way, be strong. If you're not strong, you get weak, and then you basically...
That's it.
Succumb to those challenges.
You become sport.
Okay.
An easy target.
That's a good one.
A low-hanging fruit.
A low-hanging fruit.
Literally.
So we're seeing a lot of political formations, alignments, realignments taking place. Recently, we saw photos emerging and conversations emerging after a meeting of some top leadership from the Jubilee Party and from ODM Party. The Secretary Generals of the two parties were together. The Secretaries General were in part of this meeting. Raphael Tuju of Jubilee, Edwin Sifuna of ODM. The Vice Chairman of Jubilee, David Murathe, was present in this party. The Chair of ODM was present in the meeting, and also so was Junaid Mohammed and Maoka Maore MPs. And then the conversation that came out of this was, you know what, they're talking about forming a coalition. I mean, these two big parties coming together to form a coalition, forge ahead, going into the next election. Now, Jubilee is a party, but it's in a coalition with other smaller parties. ODM is a party, it's in a coalition with other parties, notably ANC and Ford Kenya. There's a coalition that has been registered with the Register of Political Parties. Yes, the one that has registered, well, not registered, the one that has records of very many people registered under various political parties without their knowledge, some saying. The issue that, you know, moves ahead after this conversation is, what exactly are we seeing? Are we seeing a journey towards those who are allied to President Uhuru Kenyatta and those who are allied to ODM leader Raila Odinga coming together to say we shall have one unified vehicle and approach in the next election? Or are we actually seeing movement of these political parties signing some sort of cooperation or agreement? I think technicalities of the political parties signing a coalition are deeper than that. It's technically, those in law will tell us whether it's possible for one party that's in a coalition that has not broken, that can enter into another post-election coalition if the other members of your coalition are not joining that post-election coalition. Or is it just a cooperation agreement? Those are issues. Practically speaking, what is it that we see? Is it any different from a handshake that was signed, that was entered into between the two leaders, President Uhuru Kenyatta and former Prime Minister Raila Odinga in 2018, where they said, handshake, we shall work together? Is it just a formalization of that handshake? Does it mean anything at this particular point? I'm sitting back and I'm asking myself, what's different? These two political parties have basically been working together for the longest. The political formations have been working together since 2018. They have been together. The president and Raila have been together. The leadership of ODM and the leadership of Jubilee have been working in close cooperation in Parliament. They've been working in close cooperation in the National Assembly and the Senate. What's different now? I mean, what different thing would come out of these talks of an alliance or cooperation between the two political parties?
In terms of the difference that will make for Kenyans, because that's where I'm going to go, Eric. That what difference is it actually going to make for Kenyans? Where will the difference be in terms of the livelihoods of Kenyans? Is it that with these, what would be great if we saw a lot of this shifting, this political repositioning and this political alignment that is happening every time an election were to come about. If we see that the direct result of all this repositioning was to make life better for Kenyans, was to make sure that the things that Kenyans currently are suffering from or historically have suffered from will change with these positioning and realignments, then absolutely yes. All ears should be to the ground and saying, okay, we're actually going to see a change because we're seeing things being shifted. We're seeing parties coming together so that they can have a more united and unified force to be able to fight the ills that dog Kenya when it comes to development, when it comes to governance, when it comes to leadership and such. That not happening, then all of this is just noise. It's a cacophony of political voices left, right and center, and will really not make a difference. If it is not going to make things better, if it is not going to heed to the cries that Kenyans have currently about the things that they suffer for which they vote to bring in a new leader that is going to change, then yes, actually it's just noise. Or it's getting you to think maybe temporarily in a different situation. But it is not going to solve problems. It's not going to deliver the person who is essentially going to bring about change, bring about a reform agenda in this country. If not going to happen, no.
How would you know whether this is...
Because if history serves as an example, and we want to use it often and say, what has happened before is what I know, then if you can use that to apply to the present, then that's what people are often going to do. That, it's not going to be different because this has happened before. There's been an election where we've seen a realigning of political will and desire. What happened? Nothing.
How would you know whether this is different? How would you tell a different political conversation?
That's the thing. You can't tell. But because historically it has happened in a certain way, that is what you're going to go with. You're going to go with your experience historically. And you're saying, okay, come an election, they realign themselves or they reposition themselves politically. And what did we see that came about as a result of that? You are going to often use your historical experience to apply to your present and future. Until and unless something different comes about, you'll have to wait and see. But for now, you're going to say, well, okay, it's just the same. We've said it in this room before. What do you expect when an election is coming up? You will see a realignment. You will see a repositioning. Why? For individual political expediency and for nothing else. Because that is what has happened before. Now, had we an experience where we saw that people realigned and said, you know what, it's enough. Kenyans have had enough of this thing. Let's come together for the good of Kenyans. Now, had you had a situation like that, where things had actually changed, then you say, hold on a minute, this could be another one just like that. It could be that people are repositioning so that they make things better for the country. But because you have not seen something like that happen, you cannot use that as your experience. So your historical experience is going to be what you're going to use to judge a present condition.
Let me peg what I want to say on what you just said. With your reference to historical experiences. The players that we now see, are they not the same people we've seen for the last, God knows, 20 years?
Exactly.
So, tell me this magic bullet, or this magic situation.
Or this is something that's going to change now.
Same people, they've moved around a little bit, moved from here to there. Remember, even when we had KANU was a galvanizing force because it was the entity that people were opposing. But remember, even in opposing KANU, Ford couldn't agree. Ford split. Remember? When Ford split, KANU still carried the day, remember? Then, what is it that changed that made it possible for this group of people to actually defeat KANU? Because KANU was incumbent. Why am I asking this question? Right now, Jubilee is dismantling itself.
On its own.
As we see. So, what are these people going to be opposing? So, since there isn't this strong party or the party in power that is being opposed, what we have is an amalgam called a handshake. So, what on earth are these leaders, the same people, what are they going to tell us that will resonate with the change that we've been expecting for the last God knows how many decades? Because same people making same promises, all they're doing is playing musical chairs and telling us things that actually, I let me take it as a personal entertainment to themselves. I can't do this, I want to do this, I'm not going to be in this position, what do they think I am, that sort of thing. Fine. My opinion, this group of politicians bring about change, forget it. Change as in you are going to view and see.
So it doesn't matter if all of them joined together and said we are all in one coalition.
If you like, all of you go and see the same tailor, sew the same dress, all of you wear it together. It's the same people.
In fact, you can go and buy similar wigs.
Forget it. Look the same.
In fact,
change today.
In fact,
in the dark, in the light.
Dread.
Forget it.
If the whole of them agree,
that's it.
We are doomed.
It's even worse.
We are doomed. We are genuinely doomed.
But here's the thing, though. So this is the current generation of political leaders that we have. Okay, the top level political leadership that we have. We name them from Raila to the president, to the deputy president, to ANC leader, to the Wiper leader, to the Ford Kenya leader, same, right? And they're the ones who've basically been positioning themselves at every election for the last 3 or 4 elections to take up leadership of the country. So same group of leaders. But if we say that because they're the same group of leaders, then those who form whatever kind of alliance, they may think different. They may want to outdo the others in terms of wanting to prove that they actually were better than the others, even by 1 degree. It could be development. It could be maendeleo.
Mm-hmm. You know the problem.
Same way, just like example you've given of KANU. In the KANU days, 92, there was KANU and then there was a plethora of other political parties.
Yes, there was.
97, there was KANU and there was a plethora of other political parties.
Yes.
A majority of the voters voted for the opposition. But KANU, being one unit, was winning the elections with 34-35% of the votes.
Yes.
The conversation then happened, opposition needs to come together. All of you guys have one agenda, which is different from the KANU agenda. Why don't you come together? And that's why after 97, they started coming together. And they actually got to a point where the opposition was united come 2002. 2001. The person who was number 2 in 97, Mwai Kibaki, came together with the person who was number 4 in 97, Kijana Wamalwa, with the person who was number 5 in 97, Charity Ngilu. They came together and they formed the National Alliance of Kenya. Raila Odinga, who was number 3 in 97, had already moved to KANU to join ranks with KANU. So there was clear alliance building at that point. People are then judging by how different are these two going to be. And when KANU split even further, those people came and joined the National Alliance of Kenya. They formed the National Rainbow Coalition. It was a unified opposition. Was it different in thinking? Would you say, was it representing change? The 2002 election?
It was representing a voting bloc.
Was it change?
A voting bloc.
That's different from what we had seen before.
I think you didn't hear me the first time.
What was unifying this voting bloc?
What was unifying the voting bloc was they were opposed, apparently, to KANU. They wasn't fighting. They didn't.
So it was change. They wanted a change from KANU. They just wanted something different.
Actually, the point I'm trying to make here is actually this. The change that we are talking about is change that they wanted for themselves. It was not change for the citizenry. This is really the point I'm trying to make here.
Yes.
Because when we talk about change, we assume that we're talking about change for the Wananchi. No. What we saw was change in political alliances. That's all we did. With Raila Odinga going to KANU, change of political alliances. With all this movement, change of political alliances. Now, we are seeing it now. And yet, this one party that you could say has been in leadership, that has been watered down. I'm not even sure what we have anymore. So, when we talk about leaders coming together, whether it is this one alliance, another alliance, whichever alliance, I am trying very hard to see change. I'm not seeing it.
it's inconsequential.
Yes.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter who comes together.
The thing that seemed to at least bring about the possibility of igniting a conversation in the direction we are thinking was this BBI. But that we really can't discuss right now because of where it's at. But all I'm saying is politicians, same politicians we've had for God knows how many decades, moving around and talking to each other and joining hands and having meetings and spreading COVID. No. That doesn't really...
For the benefit of the people over whom they would eventually lead and govern?
No.
In terms of a reform agenda for changing things in the way in which the government or the country is supposed to operate? No. If we're looking at any kind of...
You are looking at an orange tree and expecting melons out of an orange tree.
But it's the same thing we're saying now.
It's politicians everywhere in the world. Go to Russia, go to America, go to the UK. It's politicians.
But unfortunately,
they will always say that they are doing things for their people, but it's for them.
But in this movement of alliances, even when people are doing for themselves, at least the crumbs that fall on the table, in some cases you will see that the people of the country actually benefit. You will see it.
For example...
We're talking about alliances. You said America or who or where.
Yes.
Are you seeing that the people of the country are crying, for example, that they're not able to afford life? Are you seeing that the country has basically borrowed and laid itself on the altar of economic disaster at the behest of the people? Have you seen that is happening? Or are people actually able to continue eke out a living, even if these people at the top are governing and doing whatever they want to do? People are still able to survive. And that is what I am talking about today. People are not dealing with these issues that we're talking about. Can you imagine that after how many years you're still dealing and talking about issues where you don't have enough schools, that you're still looking for quality of education, that people are going to hospital, they have to carry their own blood? I mean, what are we talking about here? What are we really talking about?
We are talking about
even
politicians.
As you are trying
and
to
what
move
they do.
Towards political
what
expedience.
They will do will trickle down
even
to you, the people, at some point. It's the same thing that has happened even in America. There are people who are hungry today in America. There are people who have don't have healthcare in America.
I am saying that the point of change, what you're talking about change here, the mind of politicians right now is not about Kenyans.
It has never been.
And that's what I'm saying. The change is for them, the few individuals.
I want to differ with you, Eric. There
was
a time when it was. Because being an MP...
In Kenya's history.
Yes. You aren't... There was no salary to speak of. It wasn't as though there was this huge financial gain that you'd have. There was no CDF. People actually discussed issues, you could argue. And this issue of releasing people by giving them money, setting them free. All these things that we now currently have, those things didn't exist. People were voted in simply because they happen to be popular. And usually you'd find this is somebody who's considered to be a good Christian. This was somebody who was a teacher. This was somebody whose contribution to society was known. It is a long, long time ago. But the norms that we now apply to our politics didn't apply then. It honestly didn't.
At that point, City, and here is where the point of departure is. At that point, are we saying that politicians were honest? That they were actually seeking political office primarily and uniquely to serve the people and not their own interest?
Actually,
that's where the question is.
Actually,
where were the interests?
There's never a complete divorce in reality. The reality is the balance. You have a personal interest, but are you actually looking after the interest of your people?
Because you realize that without looking at the interest of your people, that position that you that you crave to have will not exist. So even as you're looking for your own personal interest, you say, okay, actually, you know what? This is going to fuel my position. If I don't take care of the interests of these people, honestly, then you know that this position that you have is at jeopardy.
You know this narrative of development that we speak of, it evolved over time because you associated the MP with the advent of development. This will happen. The influence that they carry with the government, this will happen. Now, many politicians, remember, with opposition politics being introduced, it then became apparent that if you are not on the side of government, then you can forget development. It's not coming. All I'm saying is we are at a point when all these things that have happened over time are arriving at a certain amalgamation. But what is at the fore is the interest of the politician and not the interest of the Mwananchi. That balance that I'm speaking of isn't there. You don't see it. The decision-making process of Parliament, the carryings on.
Now, other places where you talk about the fact that there are politicians or there are leaders who have a personal interest, you see that balance. And that's what I'm saying.
26 minutes after 8. Let's take a break at this point. We're live on KTN Home on SpiceFM and live streaming the show on SpiceFM KE, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. We'll be back shortly. Good morning.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life. 24/7, around the world, non-stop. This is Spice FM.
What is the best gift to celebrate a birthday?
Cash, of course.
What if I told you that you can get cold, hard cash for celebrating a birthday? This June, I, Olivia Otieno, is giving 10,000 shillings to 41 lucky Spice FM listeners to celebrate my 41st birthday. That's right, this June, 41 lucky Spice FM listeners will get 10,000 shillings cash. All you need to do is SMS the word cash to 29599. That's cash to 29599. And if your SMS is number 41 or number 1041 every Monday to Friday, you walk away with 10,000 shillings cash. Each SMS costs 10 shillings. Terms and conditions apply. Go to spicefm.co.ke for more details.
24/7, around the world, non-stop. This is Spice FM.
We've been all through it, you know. We go to school, study hard, get the much-deserved grades, and celebrate our graduation. Then reality hits us. We get to the job market and we simply don't know where to start off. Thankfully, by visiting jobs.standardmedia.co.ke, your next career breakthrough could be a click away. Get the best in career advice, employment opportunities, internships, part-time jobs, CV writing, and interview coaching. Give your career the much-needed lift on jobs.standardmedia.co.ke.
Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo-soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah!
You're listening to Spice FM.
What is the best gift to celebrate a birthday?
Cash, of course.
What if I told you that you can get cold, hard cash for celebrating a birthday? This June, I, Olivia Otieno, is giving 10,000 shillings to 41 lucky Spice FM listeners to celebrate my 41st birthday. That's right, this June, 41 lucky Spice FM listeners will get 10,000 shillings cash. All you need to do is SMS the word cash to 29599. That's cash to 29599. And if your SMS is number 41 or number 1041 every Monday to Friday, you walk away with 10,000 shillings cash. Each SMS costs 10 shillings. Terms and conditions apply. Go to spicefm.co.ke for more details.
24/7, around the world, non-stop. This is Spice FM.
Star Times brings you exciting soccer action from the 21st round of the Bet King Premier League this week. On Saturday, KCB versus Mathare United. On Sunday, Kariobangi Sharks meets Tusker FC. And on Wednesday, Gor Mahia battle Wazito FC as Tusker FC faces Western Steamer. All matches are live and exclusive to BTV, Channel 172 on decoder and 463 on satellite. Get connected today for only 999 shillings on aerial decoder.
Warming up just slightly in Nairobi. 23 the high and lows of 14 today. Cloudy in Nyeri at 13, highs of 20. We'll see highs of 23 in Nakuru. It's mostly cloudy. Cloudy as well in Eldoret at 15, highs of 23. 26 will be the high in Kisumu, where it's mostly cloudy at 20, and that's what it is in Kakamega as well. It'll go to highs of 26. 28 will be the high in Mombasa today. Continues to rain at 24. It's also raining in Malindi at 25, going to highs of 27 and lows of 23. It's cloudy in Kampala at 22, highs of 25 and lows of 17, and we'll see rain showers in Dar es Salaam at 23 with highs of 29. It's 8 degrees and sunny now in Johannesburg. It'll go to highs of 16 and down to lows of 4. Continues to rain in Lagos at 24, highs of 27 today. And we'll see highs of 31 in Kinshasa. It's cloudy at 22. That'll be the low for today.
Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah.
You're listening to Spice FM.
All right, that Kipande Road situation today is not looking good at all. As you try to approach the Globe Cinema overpass and underpass as well, there's some traffic. We don't know what the cause is. It's likely that there was an accident there earlier, but people have been there for 30 minutes and counting now. Complete standstill, not moving at all. So if you're headed in that direction, just watch out for that. Okay, Ngong Road, almost... getting to the place where it's moving now, but it is actually quite packed as you try to approach the Globe Cinema. The City Mortuary roundabout. Okay, too much traffic along Langata Road today, Mombasa Road as well. Please help. Help where? Let us know where you might be stuck. We know clearly that it's happening on Langata Road and Mombasa Road today, so please watch out for that. Also, industrial area, an absolute mess today. The Lekone interchange also moving quite slowly as we approach the southern bypass. Let's keep an eye out for this and all else. Talk to us, SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Text on 40127.
Sugar and spice and everything nice. Everything nice. Spice FM.
Spice up your life.
It's 27 minutes to 9. Kenya's biggest conversation continues on Spice FM, online and on KTN Home. In the room with you this and every weekday morning is Eric Latif, Nduoko, and C.T. Muga. We're talking about political alliances and realliances and realignments. The latest one is the talk that Jubilee Party is going into some conversation of some sort of alliance with ODM, the party. Now, what kind of alliance would this be? Would it be a coalition, a post-election coalition? Would it be that they are working towards creating the next pre-election coalition ahead of 2022 elections? What is it? And then my colleagues here are saying, you know what, it doesn't really matter what the politicians do if their interest is not in serving the people and benefiting the people. If it's all looking like it's all personal interest. And I'm saying, but that's what politicians are. They go into these things, personal interest number one. They'll come up with all these agenda and ideas of this is what we can do if we have positions of authority. Some will be well-meaning. Others will be believing that they're well-meaning, but they're completely ill-advised. But all in all, they want to be in that position of authority to influence how the country goes. For them, it's, do I have the power? Do I have the influence? How I shall measure my influence is secondary. Others look at the results and they say, I am happy that I intended to do this and this is what happened. Others will say, I am happy that I got into this position and people bent a knee to me. Politician.
Eric, remember that you actually pointed to something that is significant if you look at the history of our politics. That is, we had an opposition. The President Moi had said, fine, let multipartyism come into being. Mm-hmm. There was this juggernaut that was called Ford. Ford did what Jubilee is doing right now. They disintegrated. We didn't have this 50+1 rule. No, so long as you had a majority. Now, because of that division and other people coming in, multipartyism in action, Kanu kept winning. The president kept winning. Now, as you say correctly, at the time when the opposition got together, you see, President Moi had come to his full 2-term period, and he was stepping down. But because the political parties were able to agree, it was a resounding victory. Now, it is strange in our neck of the woods, as in on the continent, because it is assumed, usually, those in power will not allow such a thing to happen. It is said of someone like Kaunda, who actually oversaw an election in which he lost. Okay? Our thinking is that because our politicians are who we know them to be, they will ensure that they continue winning. But then, let us look at, the mantra was, Moi must go. Actually, Moi left. It wasn't as though he was pushed aside, he left. He followed the constitution, left. Let's draw a parallel with Israel. The Israeli political scene is a really interesting one because they have the situation you have in Kenya, but it's unique in the sense that you don't need an outside influence for them to disagree. They seem quite capable of just disagreeing among themselves. But the unifying factor was Netanyahu must go. So it appeared, and who led it? This gentleman called Naftali Bennett. Naftali Bennett, according to what I've read, was brought into politics by this same gentleman, Netanyahu. So they got to agree. It appeared that this coalition was not going to work. It wasn't going to be possible. But not only is it possible, they have a new prime minister. But let's see what's going to happen going forward. But the point I'm making here is, a country like Israel, the citizens have a genuine expectation that the government will do good by them. They'll have basic services. Ours is different. Because everything we speak of is against a backdrop of basic services we've been expecting to receive, which we don't receive. And all we are treated to is this movement and this politics.
Yes. It's just people moving, but your structure remains the same.
You know, in those countries that you've given examples of, even those in Western and other parts of the world, it's not that the politicians are not self-serving and self-seeking. It is that the citizens have risen to a certain level where their demand for accountability is higher. So the politician, yes, they go campaigning. Why they're removing Netanyahu and bringing in Bennett and bringing this other coalition, it's a disagreement amongst politicians. The political class in Israel has been in disagreement for a while. They form political parties, they go into an election, people elect the people that they think represent what their ideals are, just like it happens everywhere in elections. But when you get into office, there is some sort of higher expectation and higher calling by higher checks by the people. So the voter has placed a certain expectation of the people. In Kenya, the difference is we wholeheartedly believe this person will go in there and deliver. And we let them be. And our check and balance is by now looking at the other person and saying, okay, no, we still believe, we still trust this political leader.
But Eric, even as these politicians serve
whatever they are
interests,
doing, when they bring in the little, because there's still going to be a trickle down. There's still a trickle down. People will talk about this person has brought roads. This person has helped the opening up of a port that was dead for a long time. This person has done this and the other. They will still say, you see, but he has brought it. He has brought it to us.
I still see that these are the examples that we are giving, even in as much as they are serving self-interest. There's still a responsibility box that they tick because they realize that they still must do their job. That they realize that even in as much as I am seeking my own self-interest here, these are the examples that we are giving. The fact that it gets done, the fact that citizens are holding you up to some kind of accountability, you also realize, hold on a minute, if I don't do my job, then chances of me being here in the next cycle are actually quite dim.
Yes.
You realize that.
Which is an extension of the self-serving nature of a politician.
It goes
because
hand in hand.
I want to remain,
goes hand in hand.
Because I want to remain in my position, I must see what do I need to do to remain in my position.
But you realize that it is the right thing to do.
The expectation, politician realizes the right thing to do. The expectation of this politician is for me to continue enjoying the largesse that I'm enjoying, I have got to do well and do good by the people, that accountability. Kenyan politician, for me to be able to continue enjoying, I must align, I must realign, I must use this kind of language. That's it. Self-seeking all the time. What is the marking scheme in this country? Marking scheme in this country, people will tell you, did you bring the road? If you didn't, go home. What is the marking scheme in Kenya? Who are you aligned with? Are you working with so-and-so? Now you are outside the main movement.
But Eric, remember,
if you are inside the main movement, it's fine. We will support you.
It's circuitous, but your alignment to that person might bring the road. And if you're not aligned to that person, that road will not come.
Yes.
You see, yes, there are many similarities, but the fundamental difference, when you talk about the citizenry holding the politicians to a higher standard, the politicians themselves hold each other to a higher standard. Ours just agree. So this higher standard, what is it? They agree. And I'm not talking about even the leadership in political parties. I'm talking about our parliament. They just agree. They agree among themselves. They then go and agree with the executive. They agree. And they agree on fundamental issues that you feel surely, should you not have pitched a fit about this? The rage you show when you don't get your allocation for CDF.
Should you not show the same
Yes.
rage, for example, when the country is borrowing to the point whereby it's on its knees and you had a responsibility, for example, to be able to stop this?
Yes, because you do.
To stop it.
What is strange is Parliament actually has powers. It genuinely has powers. But they have decided that those are powers that they are going to donate to the executive. In fact, no, sorry, let me correct myself. Those are powers that they have decided they are going to permanently bequeath the executive. So
yes, because it's the executive that is holding them accountable at this particular point. It is not the citizens. The moment the citizens start holding the leaders accountable, not on rhetoric,
Accountable
not
or holding their allegiance.
the moment the citizens start holding the leaders accountable, calling them to account on what they're supposed to be doing as leaders in terms of their job, the primary job of a member of parliament, the primary job of a head of executive, be it at national or county level. That is the time when even the politicians, when they're discussing these whole alliances and all, they will be knowing that for me to remain in office, for me to remain in this position of influence, I have got to align myself with delivery. Today, they align themselves with rhetoric. Who has got the better rhetoric? There's a better rhetoric that's coming out on the hustler narrative, and the leader of this hustler narrative is very eloquent and very good. He's got the gift of the gab given straight from above. He speaks and he speaks to the people, and the people feel, oh yeah, this man is actually now representing us. So everybody else around is saying, if I actually now join this movement, I am likely to be elected because people like this person. It is not because we are looking at what have you done, your track record, how are you able. We are not even interrogating. So what does this up, down, down, up, what does bottom up mean? We're not interrogating that. That's it. So these two political parties, when they see the leaders coming to shake hands, and then they say, okay, let's send our boys to go and have a conversation, have tea, and look at how we can work together in the next election. It's all about how are we going to convince our people that we mean well for them, whereas we are basically saying, how are we going to make sure that we are the ones who have direct control of the reins of power,
so what we are
and not that other guy.
So what we're currently seeing now, this political musical chairs that's happening, you're not even removing a chair. Imagine playing musical chairs, and the point is to remove a chair and see who remains standing, right? In this case, chairs remain, people remain, music remains the same. All they're doing is wearing different clothes. Or rather, all they're doing now is instead of everybody playing for themselves, you now have three people trying to get a chair where all those chairs remain.
There's one chair that's different.
There is
Which one is that?
So all of you, you're doing rounds, but there's one chair that's different. So all of you are hoping that when the music stops, you're the one who's sitting on that particular chair.
So what we're saying now is that you're not necessarily, there's nothing that has changed. So now the question that we initially asked here and saying, okay, with this realignment and repositioning that we see, does it affect anything?
Let me do something that our colleague of ours did very effectively here. Let me change the question. Okay. Are we, the citizenry, capable of holding our leaders to a higher standard? Are we capable? Are we able to do the things we're saying? They call a rally, you say, folks, with the COVID, we're not coming. They offer you 50, what we say, keep the 50 shillings. We'd rather you did A, B, C, D. Are we able to actually be in a position where we say, if you want to vie for a position, you're going to come to us to endorse you and to think that you're a viable candidate. First of all, let us tell you what it is we want you to do, right? And then you tell us how it is we should hold you accountable, because you're supposed to serve our interest, not you telling us what you think you're going to do. We are the ones who know what we need, so we will tell you. And once we've told you, we want you to come up with a program that will tell us how it is you're going to achieve this. And how, not every quarter, we will not start with every quarter. We are going to start with every month. We need a report. Whether you're the MC or the MP, we want you to be telling us. Governor, since you have a much bigger position, we want you to be telling us every month, what it is that you've done and how it is you're moving. It may seem tedious, but if you've just signed the check, tell us this month I've only signed the check. We'll say, okay, so what do you hope to do next? Are we able to actually do this? Or are we going to slink and then go behind and say, hey, you know, the mkubwa alisema. No, because if we cannot, then the question I should ask is, what do we need in order to be able to hold our leaders accountable? Because I'm listening to this discussion we're having, and Eric here has a valid point. Let's rotate this as much as we like. Huh? Within the citizenry are people who have attempted to become those political leaders. Within the citizenry, there are people who have been those political leaders and are no longer political leaders. Within this leadership, within this citizenry, there are people who are educated. There are people who are voices. There are people who are leaders, their opinion shapers. Are we saying that this collection of citizenry, in whatever grouping they are, cannot come and agree and say, you know something, let's change this agenda? If we actually genuinely feel we can't change this agenda and we're incapable, then let's stop complaining.
Let's change the game.
Yes.
Then if you're going to ask that, then you're going to have to also ask that are Kenyans, fed up with the situation to the point whereby you want that kind of change to come about and to stick to your guns and actually say, you know what, we want this. Have you been pushed to the wall? Have you really had that face? You know when we say push to the wall, but have you really had that face-to-face experience at the wall and said, you know what, this is too much. All these shenanigans that we've been invited to sit at the table to kind of watch, we're not in for it anymore. Are we really tired with the situation as it is? With all the things that you say we want a leader to come about and do, that accountability that you seek for, those performance contracts that you say should be filled every month. Are you really fatigued or exhausted to the point whereby you're seeing that, this person that you voted in is actually not doing the job? Have you gotten to the point where it's too much? Or are you actually still comfortable with the status quo? Until and unless you're able to answer that question in the affirmative, you will not see any kind of change. This kind of bubbling over that you're hoping to see, until people are actually tired, I think there's an amount of comfortability that's still being enjoyed right now. If it were different, you would see that. And if you don't, then people are not.
You may think the governor is too far away to hold accountable, but he's not. You have an MCA. Those are the people who will hold the governor accountable. So you hold your MCA accountable, that person will know, here, I come from that place. When I get back, these guys are going to be asking me these things.
And as I think about it, Kenyans are actually able to take in a lot. And I don't think you've gotten to that. I don't think the citizenry has gotten to that point where you say, you know what, it is enough. And that's why I say I think there's still an element of comfortability that is being enjoyed. If it were different, if it were that we've had it, if it were that it is too much, we're tired of seeing this rotationary political games happening here. We're tired of seeing all of this happening at the expense of the development of our country and the future of our children. I hear somebody saying every day here, I'm worried about my children and my grandchildren. How much? Really? Have you had enough? You won't see any kind of change until people have had enough.
Have we been able to identify where the problems are? Because then maybe it would begin with that identification of the problem and the issues, and then being able to have the uniformity of voice. Because if you ask people whether they're fed up today, they'll tell you they're fed up.
Completely.
They'll tell you, yes, and they'll tell you the issues where they're fed up. They'll tell you, we are not seeing this, we're not, our ability to spend, our ability to feed our families, our ability to do this and the other. Are we able to crystallize that into one problem and say that this is the issue?
Yes. That one I think people understand.
To crystallize, and so we are all unified and saying that this is where our problem is. These three are our main issues.
I want to draw an analogy of a microorganism like this virus that we are now calling COVID-19. There's COVID-19. And then with the time, because it's also seeking to survive, it mutates. And every time it mutates, it doesn't get weaker, it gets stronger, and it creates even more problems. Okay? Look at the compromises we make in our lives. You allow the politician to more or less decide and determine for you. Because you think they will benefit you. You don't see benefits accruing, and yet you still want to believe this. sometimes I think when we look at our problems, we don't quantify them in terms of the resources that are actually available, what they were supposed to have done. For instance, 1 billion shillings. What does 1 billion shillings do for you? Well, I know, for me, the ballpark is Nairobi Hospital. That new wing which was built, 1 billion shillings. So every time someone talks about 1 billion shillings,
you see hospitals.
Yes.
You see a possibility of hospitals.
I know the number of beds. I know everything fully equipped, and I'm looking at all that.
Within the vicinity of which people can actually access it.
Yes, when someone tells you that they've spent 3 billion on a hospital that has less facilities than that one, you ask them, how on earth did you do it exactly? The point is, this willingness to be able to take that road less traveled, to actually say, actually I'm putting my foot down. Eric, that in my mind is where the problem is. Saying this is wrong. There's no iffy about it.
Yeah.
It is wrong.
We are clear and we are all saying the same thing is wrong.
It's wrong.
Because people say things are wrong, but what you're saying is wrong and what I'm saying is wrong are different.
Yes.
So we fail to disagree when it comes to apportioning the blame on the leader. So I'll say it's wrong, but it's not, I mean, it's not her. She's not in government. She's not in anything. She's not the one.
And
then
it's
you're
wrong.
saying it's wrong, and yet it's wrong. Let's take a break at this point and say thank you very much to our audience on KTN Home who joined us at 8 o'clock and they're with us now and we're about to leave you. You can tune into the conversation on SpiceFM wherever you are in the country. Nairobi, 94.4. If it's Mombasa, it's 87.9. Kisumu, 102.5. 96.0 in Nakuru. Eldoret, 96.7. Nyeri is 90.9. And Malindi, 97.7. Or you can live stream the show because we are live streaming it on YouTube, on Facebook and on Twitter. SpiceFM KE, the handle on all those platforms. Good morning.
You know, when you see someone being jailed, a governor or two or someone who stole, then people will fear. Because our problem is not the borrowing, it's the stealing.
We've become actually a nation of thieves. The only thing we lack is an opportunity to steal.
The guys who quote the Bible and say I'm a Christian and all that, and you know they're thieves. Return what you have stolen 4 times. If you know that you have property or anything that you have stolen, just return and say, my God does not allow me to hold stolen things.
We are also a reflection of you, because you elect us. You know, we don't get into our office by ourselves. We are a reflection of the people who elect us.
We don't want to go to the streets. We have a constitution that enables us, assert our will.
When the legislators are now being taken as hostage by the executive for whatever reason, we are now bound by what they want us to do.
This is just outside the realms of reality. We have impunity written into the DNA of our political class.
How old were you when you learned that Jeshi la Wokovu is Jeshi la Wokovu?
I can't say it very well.
And everyone knows. Okay.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right.
Okay, it's 5 minutes.
94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Alignments, realignments, they happen pre-election, they happen post-election, and all we hear from politicians is the same thing. They come and say, I mean, this is how we should be doing our things. This is how we should be focusing our agenda. So today, our agenda is this and the other. We want, and all of them will have the same thing. Vijana wapate nafasi za ajira. Mama mboga aweze kupata kazi na kujimudu na familia yake. Mwananchi mdogo wa kawaida aweze kuendelea.
Wanjiko aweze kuhakikisha kwamba ameboresha maisha yake kwa njia inayofaa.
It never comes down to the specifics. What exactly is it that we want to do? When they come up with manifesto during an election campaign, the manifesto is just one of those things that will be put there as, you know, we check the boxes, took on manifesto, our manifesto is good, we are talking about this and the other, our nafasi za ajira for the youth is this and that. Not many will say this is how much we'd like to spend in the next 5 years if you put us in office to uplift the youth. Or this is exactly the program that we have to make sure that people have universal health coverage or better access to healthcare. Improving healthcare by building this number of hospitals, and that will require this amount of money, and this is how we shall raise our revenues. Not many would say that. It was different when actually Mwai Kibaki, when he was campaigning, he used to, at some point, stop saying everything else and talk about just the economy and from revenue and say, how much are we raising in revenue today? What is our potential of revenue collection today? If we raise this amount of money, we would be able to run government operations. When is the last time we had such kind of speeches? It's all about, we are working together. The people of Murembe Nation have been left behind for so long. We will work together with these ones. The people of the coast have been left behind. The people of Mount Kenya, the people. It's all about the people of.
Sure, you can tell a lot about where one's focus is by the things that they say. And you will not expect that some of these things that you're asking about, education, healthcare, etc., that they will speak about it, because that's not what the focus is. You will know where my focus is by the things that I say. You might try to shroud it in other things, but it'll be very clear to you where my agenda is. So how then do you expect that it is the development of the country and the citizens that are the things that will come out of someone's mouth if that is not where their focus is? Their focus prime, and I keep telling you, when they tell you these things, for goodness sake, believe them. They are not telling you anything outside of what they're actually going to do. So if somebody comes and tells you the people of Mulembe Nation are the ones that actually should come to the forefront, what are they essentially telling you? That it is me, who wants to be in this position. Whatever I will do with that position then totally is up to me when I get there. But they are telling you, they are prescribing to you by the words that they speak. And if you can just read between, they're not even trying to shroud it in anything. They're not even hiding it. They're telling you, ho-ha, as we say, point blank. This is actually what we think. This is actually what I am going to do. If the focus were, like Kibaki said, that I want to focus on the economy, and then he is in power for 10 odd years, and you see that that is actually what he did, then you can hear. Don't you see that that's where it was? Everybody today gives examples of when Kibaki was in power, we did not see borrowing going crazy. We actually saw development take place. We stopped a lot of these development projects, etc., etc. Did he not speak that that is what he was going to do? They tell you, but we're just not listening.
He was saying it. And actually, it wasn't even being reported much.
No.
So on the other hand,
but it was happening.
They essentially tell you that we are going to plunder this country to within an inch of its life because they're interested in their own political expediency. They tell you. They're not hiding. They're telling you. Why are we not listening?
And what you want to see as you hold them accountable, and actually I'll give you a story of one governor who gave me an example. What you want to see tangible and inanimate stuff. You want to see physical things. So when a government is focusing so much on mega infrastructure, it's because you people have said you want to see a road, you want to see a major hospital here, you want to see structures. Someone comes and tells you that now, people have planted so many avocados in their farms, and now they're harvesting, and then we've improved the nutritional needs of our community. Nutrition kitu gani? You will be voted out just by telling people that you're no longer hungry. You actually now have access to a balanced diet, and so your children are not malnourished. You'll be voted out. Good morning, 9 a.m.
Spice up your life. The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.
358,000 doses of AstraZeneca vaccine are expected to be delivered in the country tonight. Doses are expected to boost the second phase of immunization, which continues at a slower pace following the lack of adequate doses. The vaccines are delivered from Denmark. By the end of the weekend, 188,000 Kenyans had received a second dose. 73 patients recovered from COVID-19, 61 from the home-based and isolation care program, while 12 are from various health facilities countrywide. Total recoveries now stand at 122,704, of whom 88,965 are from home-based and isolation care program, while 33,739 are from various health facilities countrywide. On a sad note, we lost 9 people on diverse dates in April, May and June, pushing our death toll to 3,456. Leaders continue to support the new restrictions on COVID-19 as directed by the Health Ministry. Trans Nzoia County MCA Eric Wafula says the restrictions are necessary so that the public can be protected from the pandemic, further asking politicians to suspend rallies.
Kama kweli serikali imeona watu wa Trans Nzoia wako wanaumia kwa sababu wanakufa kwa sababu ya mambo ya COVID. Hizi makaunti zenye zimekuwa lockdown na wanasiasa sana. Hii mpira ilichezwa kule juzi Kisumu. Watu walisahau kwamba kuna COVID na hizi kaunti ziko karibu. Sasa shida yenye iko ni sisi wanasiasa, sisi viongozi tunapatiana mwelekeo mbaya kwa wananchi.
Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka maintains that he will run for presidency in 2022. He says that Odinga has failed to honor the agreement they had in 2017 that he would support in Camp 2022.
Mmesikia nimebweka kweli. Natazidi kubweka. We have a cooperation agreement between Jubilee, whose party leader is President Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, and I'm the party leader of Wiper. If others want to join, they are most welcome, because idea ni kuleta kama building bridges, tuunganishe kila mtu hapa. Sitarudi nyuma.
With the election laws requiring politicians to hold a degree continues to be discussed, Busia residents are now supporting the legislation, insisting that the bill has come at the right time. Residents say some members of parliament and the Senate, as well as their counterparts in the counties, had failed to serve the people properly due to their poor education.
Mambo ya Chebukati alisema ati paka mwanasiasa ambaye anataka tumpatie kiti akuwe na degree, mimi naunga mkono. Sababu ni hii: kama hauna kisomo, zile standing orders ambazo zinatumiwa katika bunge, inatakana huyo mtu ambaye umesoma.
Kama mtu ambaye hana degree katika hesabu, atawezaje kukadiria pesa ambayo inatakana ije kwa mwananchi ili iweze kusaidia mwananchi? Ni vema sana mtu huyu aweze kuwa amesoma na ako na degree ambayo inakubalika.
Holders KCB RFC registered an emphatic 39 win against non-scripts in a Kenya Cup match played at RFUA grounds. KCB, who largely played the match with 14 men, scored 4 tries in the first half and added 3 more in the second half to bag maximum points. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
All right, still a bit heavy coming out of Ngara, headed into the city, and we're seeing traffic as far as Fig Tree today. That whole area coming out of Kipande and then going towards the Globe Cinema overpass and under is quite crazy today. Not sure what exactly happened, but it doesn't look good. Coming out of industrial area as well is jam-packed. We're looking at Jogo Road, where there's traffic coming from all the way back as far back as Hamza, and then going towards Landis Road into the CBD. Mess. Coming out of Westlands, that James Gishoro problem is still there. We know that Uhuru Highway on some parts would have been diverted because of construction, so that is causing some traffic. Tail back quite far, and we're also seeing it on Uhuru Highway coming from the Nyayo Stadium roundabout. All right, so guys, it's that Monday, it's this one. Let's look out for trouble spots. The bypass is not looking bad today. Eastern, Southern, Red Hill, use those to get into the city and out a lot faster. Outer Ring is moving slowly today, so just keep that in mind. The ICD route, everybody's using that this morning as well, going towards the Southern bypass. Langata Road is also moving slowly. Let's take a look in a short while. SpiceFM KE on Twitter is how you can talk to us. Text as well on 40127.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latin, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
6 minutes after 9. Kenya's biggest conversation continues. CT, today's proverb.
When vultures surround you, try not to die.
When vultures surround you, try not to die.
Do what you may, but please don't die.
You will be eaten.
Yes, and this doesn't chime with that song, Please Don't Go. This one is Please Don't Die.
So the question that you asked, City, whether Kenyans are, what did you ask? Are Kenyans capable?
Yes, I said, we discuss these things and we're going to continue discussing them, and there's no day we're going to say we've discussed them enough. But every once in a while, we must speak truth to the situation. All right? Everyone complains. Everyone, whoever is represented in this society of ours we call Kenya, we complain. But fine. For us to complain, it means there's something we are complaining about. And it means we understand what it is we're complaining about. But are we ready to make the hard decision to bring about the change that we need? Because it all boils down to something very simple, as we said, making sure that your leader knows, your political leader, that they are going to be held accountable, that they know. And why is this even more possible? We delved into history a while back at independence when, the literacy rate compared to now was actually a little beyond comparison. The larger percentage of our population, one could argue, were not as literate as they are now. Our parliament, you could count the number of people in your fingers who had what you'd call university degrees. Now, you can count on your fingers those who don't. The point I'm making is, if it's a question of academic qualifications, at whatever level of our political life, whether it's at MCA level, whether it is governors, whether it is members of parliament, senators, now, you would assume that with that level of education, the decision-making process, especially with regards to the welfare of the people, would be followed, and that people would have the backbone to actually stand up and say, this is right or this is wrong. More so, this is wrong. But we see the complete opposite.
Why is there then an appetite to just kind of, mull about with what is wrong? Because that's what it is. It's entertaining the wrong over and over and over again. Why is there then that the desire then to speak truth or to come out and say that this is wrong? It doesn't seem to be there. Why is that though? If we have a lot of people, if we want to even go ahead and say the majority of people are unhappy or unsatisfied with the situation as it is, then why not shout out? Why not express this uncomfortability? Why is there that not breaking point?
Do you know one of the reasons why the HIV virus was, and its prevalence remained what it is today, still prevalent? Because that is a virus that understood that it's not useful for it to kill its host quickly. It needed the host to survive. And if you look at COVID seems to understand that though it does infinitely more damage in a very short space of time. We are like those viruses. We've understood that to be able to survive in our political climate, where we believe that there's something to be gained from the political leadership, we adapt and we compromise. But what we don't seem to understand is the full extent and the ramification of the compromise that we have. So we end up in a position where we are complaining, and Eric put it very eloquently today. We don't even seem to see that we're the ones who brought ourselves that position. Our leaders are doing what they're doing, but we are merely ushering them in their way. And then when issues arise, calamity befalls us, we are blaming them. And yet the truth is we've been contributing very steadfastly to this calamity that we now have.
And then it never do, as we say. It hasn't gotten to the point whereby it's bad.
That position, I believe, if we had gotten to, then we would be speaking truth to these things and saying, something, folks.
Exactly.
This enough is enough has been a story.
So that enough has not reached.
Exactly now enough.
That point has not reached.
Let me ask, and I'm going to ask maybe a number of questions. Question number one, who sets the agenda in an election? Is it the citizen or the candidates?
It's both of us. Both us and the candidate.
So the citizens already have their agenda well articulated.
Yes, they participate. They participate, yes.
And then the candidates also come with their agenda.
Yes.
And then which carries the day?
What carries the day is the spoken agenda that the people believe they want.
Okay.
Spoken. Because the politician wouldn't go anywhere if they were not able to articulate or convince.
To align yourself to the people's agenda.
Yes, you have to. If you don't, you won't really go anywhere.
A lot of the things that they say are pickups from what they're hearing is milling about the people.
Great. So the politician is able to read the mood of the people.
Oh, yes, they do.
And the needs of the people and the wants. And so they come and they say, this is what I hear you people saying that you need.
Yes.
And I swear, I am not going to sleep or rest until we get to this nirvana. Right? So where then does that fail? At what point does it flop?
When they don't do it. I mean,
yes, but what leads to that failing?
So, but you see,
it's not because they did not know that this is what the people want.
Sure.
It's not because the people were not clear on what they want.
Yes.
So what happens? What would we say are the reasons why the politician does not deliver on what he promised to deliver to the people and what he knew the people wanted and what he obviously also knows is the yardstick against which people are going to?
Because you've got to ask yourself where the focus is, really. Because is it really at that point that they're trying to get elected with these things that they're saying? Are they trying to get elected? Or are they trying to get selected to be the one that is going to deliver on these things that the people are saying? A lot of times people get elected and they lose the plot.
You're onto something. You see, many of the people actually go into politics, if you ask me, they're actually genuine. They genuinely want to bring change.
At that point.
Yes, they do. They honestly
Then they get
do.
there and...
They honestly do. The song they're singing then, remember, there's an incumbent. There's the aspirant. These guys don't come from any other community. They come from that very community. So they're already known to the people.
Yep.
And there's something about them that makes them attractive. And it isn't just words. They have been seen.
You can read and you can tell whether somebody is genuine or not.
Yes, they can. And they feel. Part of the complaint that we have as a citizenry is, what happened to this person? When they started off, it was clear that this person had their head screwed on correctly. And then there's a song that I think it's played in Parliament. Yes. I want to be a millionaire. But the Kenyan version of it is, I want to be a billionaire.
It must be. You know how those stories that we heard of the Russian spy, the KGB, what they actually used to do is that they would recruit their agents at a very young age. And they would play music. They would play certain kinds of music and certain kinds of mantra when they slept, when they were kids.
So subconsciously just absorbed it.
They would be conditioned. So regardless of what you did, this child grows up later on, do what you want.
They are hardwired.
The motherland is the motherland and it's number one.
They're hardwired.
Yes. This is where now I was heading with that conversation.
Yes.
At the point of electioneering, the people and the candidates align.
Yes.
And the voter is setting the agenda.
Yes.
The voter knows what the voter needs.
Yes.
And the voter elects the person that they believe is best suited to deliver on this. My theory is that this flops because after the ballot, the voter shifts their focus to something else. This person goes into parliament, into positions of leadership, goes and meets with the other band of people who all of them, from the very beginning, even those who were genuine, wanted something for themselves. You get there, and that's why you have those conversations telling, hey, my friend, when you get there, the system just swallows you in. You find that this is how things are done in parliament. You find that this is how things are done by groups of politicians. So you align yourself with the way things are done in order to see if you can at least get one of the things that you had promised your people you're going to do delivered. But because the citizen is not holding you to account on a daily basis, then you lose it. The moment they elected you as the MP, they shifted that power game. They've now made you Mheshimiwa.
Yes.
At the point when you were coming to campaign, you were not Mheshimiwa. They were looking at you like, what do you want? I'm the one with the power. After voting, the power shifts. So it's the Mheshimiwa now who comes. The Mheshimiwa is the one who sets the agenda. It's the Mheshimiwa who is the one who says, now we are not, I know you guys had wanted this and the other, but I'm going to start with this. The one who determines, this is what I'm going to start with. This is what I'm going to focus as my conversation. And the people just sit back and they follow now because we elected you. Now you guide us and tell us, what would you like to do? Unataka kufanya, tulikupatia vitu tano ufanye. Unataka kufanya gani mheshimiwa? tufanyie tu ile ambayo utaweza mheshimiwa. Unajua, tunajua hii mambo ni power shifts. And I think that's where we start going wrong. When we now talk back about, can the politician come to us with the agenda for 2022? That will happen next year from April. The citizen gets back their power and they start saying, these are our needs. You didn't perform. Can you tell us why? How are you going to correct these ills, the wrongs? How are you going to mend your ways? Citizen gets back their power.
Then
now, if we maintained that power throughout, then we knew very well that we elected you to come and sort out our markets. We elected you to come and sort out our basic education. We elected you to ensure that we have access to healthcare. And that is where we are. We have not moved and we are not moving. Come and tell us that you're bringing Raila here, you're bringing Uhuru here, you're bringing Ruto here. Yeah. But healthcare, markets, schools, that is our agenda.
You know, you get back the power, but then what do we do with this power? What undermines this power? Why do we give it up? Because we get it and then we sort of like give it up. We give it away easily. Is it that deep down we actually don't believe that these leaders will actually do good by us? So that we go through the motions, yes, of want to vote, but deep down we feel in reality, these fellows will never really deliver. What is it? Because if you look at our action, it's self-sabotaging. You actually are in a position to bring about the change you want, and then you take steps of ensuring that the very thing that you wanted to achieve, you actually don't achieve.
Because in other areas of life, guess what? You hold folks accountable, don't you?
They do.
Where your children go to school, should anybody mess up, you're there.
On a daily basis, you want to know how the teachers are behaving, how they're performing, how the school is.
You're driving on the road and somebody dares mess around with you. You're going to stop and have a way of words with them. You go to hospital, the doctor or whomever the receiving staff are making claims on you. You want to know. You do what?
Explain
you get a second
to me.
opinion.
Yes.
Explain to me what's going on here. Should something go wrong, you take it to the court, you sue. Why is it that you can hold other people accountable for the actions that they take? But when it comes to political leaders, it's a different story. The ones who actually hold the mantle when it comes to how all these other processes are going to operate.
Because we see that power. The day we start calling the headmaster Mheshimiwa, my friend.
Do you know what?
That's it. It goes.
Are we going on a break?
Yes, let's take a break.
Okay.
19 after 9, let's take a break and look at the weather, and then we'll hear from you as well. SpiceFM KE, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. What is it about the relationship between the voter and the politician? Let's hear from you as well. 0719 012 600.
24/7 around the world, non-stop. This is Spice FM.
What is the best gift to celebrate a birthday? Cash, of course. What if I told you that you can get cold, hard cash for celebrating a birthday? This June, I, Olivia Otieno, is giving 10,000 shillings to 41 lucky Spice FM listeners to celebrate my 41st birthday. That's right, this June, 41 lucky Spice FM listeners will get 10,000 shillings cash. All you need to do is SMS the word cash to 29599. That's
It's
cash.
cloudy in Nairobi at 15, highs of 23 and lows of 14 today. Cloudy conditions in Nyeri at 14, highs of 20. Highs of 23 in Nakuru, where it's mostly cloudy at 16. 16 is what it is in Eldoret as well. Cloudy conditions going to highs of 23. 26 will be the high in Kisumu, that's mostly cloudy at 21. Mostly cloudy conditions in Kakamega at 22, highs of 26 and lows of 14. It's raining in Mombasa at 25, highs of 28 and lows of 23. Rain showers in Malindi at 26 with highs of 27. Highs of 25 in Kampala, where it's cloudy at 22. 22, and rain showers continue in Dar es Salaam at 24, going to highs of 29. 16 will be the high in Johannesburg, where it's sunny now at 10. Rain showers continue in Lagos at 24, going to highs of 27. Cloudy conditions in Kinshasa at 23, highs of 31. It's getting warmer in Beijing at 36 now, and sunny through and through into early evening. Highs of 35 later on, and then lows of 21. Mostly cloudy conditions at 18 in Paris, highs of 24. We'll see highs of just 14 in London today. It's cloudy at 12. And New York, early in the morning on Monday, it's 24 degrees and clear. Highs of 29 and lows of 23 through today.
Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah.
You're listening to Spice FM. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM.
After 9. Jack says the politicians will forever be selfish. They care less for the Mwananchi up until they won the votes. On the other hand, this Mwananchi will go to the roads singing praises to this oppressor without thinking twice. Some Kenyans, sijui watafunguliwa akili lini.
Actually, he puts it well, but a lot of what we do is actually based in reality, or what we refer to as lived experience. You see, when people talk about bringing development, it isn't empty talk. There is evidence that if you were aligned to the government of the day at some point in our history, if you lived during that period, you understood that's how this thing called development came to you.
Yep.
Because you are positively aligned.
Yep.
That thinking, by the way, hasn't left our minds. We still think that way.
Even the reality hasn't really changed.
No. So when somebody invites you to share with them this big lie, the big lie is that they are the ones who are going to bring about change. Yet the truth of the matter is that the changes you talk about, your mind is still in the pre-independence period, independence, one-party state period, and yet the issue is, why is the national government not doing this? And yet we are in a period where you actually have even county governments. You even have CDF. It's not as though there was one pot and it's only from this pot that you could get money. So when we are talking about these issues, somehow the perspective we have is predominantly a historical one, which is not necessarily true in this day and age that we're living in. And yet it is the truth that we hold. So I am saying you're invited to partake in this big lie, and you embrace the lie because you are going by. Remember the question you asked. When people say we agree, do you actually all agree on the same thing? I mean, you're pointing and saying this is it, but are you all seeing it in the same way? What you're agreeing on is that you agree, but you don't seem to agree on the same issue. So you say, Enyewe, it's the Mheshimiwa. And because he's the Mheshimiwa, and he has said, up to that point, you're willing to go for the ride. Because he has said. Yes. Are we saying that you're not capable of asking, okay, we know he has said, we know that in the past we've seen him bring desks, and he's also built a shed for the border riders. We've seen that. And he also revamped the cattle dip. We've seen that. But our lives are a little bit beyond just the cattle dip and these things that he has done. What are the plans that he has, and how is he achieving them?
Yeah.
It's a question we can ask, but we ask the question now. What is stopping us from asking Mheshimiwa? Just please, let's start again. You're in your first year. At the end of this year, what can we expect to have seen?
Yeah, what do we expect to see?
You do. Of the things that you've said you're going to do.
Yes.
And somehow that question is never asked.
I think we are not clear in terms of uniformity of mind and clarity on the agenda at that point when you are vetting the politician. Then we sort of somehow cede our power at a moment when we have elected somebody. And that's why there was some stories over the weekend or towards the end of the week about projects that were started a long time ago and they are lying incomplete. So, for example, a community in Baringo came together and they said, you know what, we need an abattoir here. We need to have a tannery as well. So we are livestock people. We have a lot of the raw material that's required for hides and skins. So if we build a tannery here, it will be a good thing. They even come together, community comes together, they organize, they lobby. The government puts in money to start the tannery. Change of government, that thing just dead. Initially, I don't know how many millions had been put into this. So now it's just lying there, derelict, not in use, because equipment and machinery that was required now to make it operational has not been put in. One MP left, another MP came in. One governor left, another governor has come in. The people seem to have taken a back seat. Same story is told of, it was various projects. There was another project somewhere in Kericho where people wanted a certain project. I think it was a market. Market started, one MP comes, he champions for it because he listens to the people. Market starts, term ends, new MP is elected. New MP comes, but that's not his priority project. So it becomes that what was our agenda, we cede that agenda to the MP now taking it, or the governor or the president taking it to be their priority projects. And those priority projects are not necessarily aligned. And that's why you see project starts, change of leadership, project halts, another project is started. Change of leadership, project halts, another project is started. And the people are electing and electing and electing. And they know, we started this, hii barabara ilianziwa na mheshimiwa so-and-so ikafika mahali fulani. It has not continued in this so-and-so's tenure. Because so-and-so came in and he decided his main focus is going to be schools. He started 2 classrooms. He's voted out. Those ones stall. We never move.
So there's no follow through of the process. And then perhaps it's the thinking that come an election, so when somebody has been voted in and, the relevant agencies do their job and this person now is in this position, that the job is over.
Yes.
That's it. It has ended without realizing that there is a level and process of accountability that this person must be kept through. You've come into this position on this ticket, whether it be that you're going to do 1, 2, 3. But for some reason, I think you've got it. For some reason, when this person gets in, you think that the job is done. But that's actually when it's just starting. To say that, all right, and it's got to be a work together kind of thing. It cannot, and that's, I think, where you see a lot of the progressive, because you can have retrogressive development. A lot of the progressive development you see in other parties that leader and people are working together. That we know, we have said that, so because you now are the custodian of this platform, you are able to command the resources, you are able to command the administration, you're able to command all these other processes that then are required to get the job done. But we also must be working in tandem with you because we realize this is the individual that we have put there. So we must continue with you on this process and not assume that you will take on the job once you've been in power and continue with
decide. Yes.
We kind of leave it to you and say, okay, now that you're there, the responsibility is then demanded of you to continue. Actually, no. He's a human being. She's a human being.
When a board hires a CEO, the board expects reports from the CEO on a regular basis.
And they have meetings. Why?
The CEO, if he wants to come up with an agenda, with a certain plan, he has to present it to the board. The board has to agree that, yes, we agree with your strategic plan. So these are the milestones. This is what we shall be measuring. Various milestones. And the CEO can't just go and decide, you know what? You board, you hired somebody and you said, this is the agenda of the board and this is what you want to see the steering of the company going forward. But I don't think that's the best thing to do. And I think the best thing we can do right now is to devalue our shares and devalue this company and start splitting it up and selling it into bits and pieces. If the board is not in agreement, it's not going to happen. This is akin to what's happening with us. We elect somebody to work for us, and then we give them all the power and all the authority. They're the ones who will be coming to us and telling us the agenda of the next board meeting. They're the ones who will be driving the next board meeting. They're the ones who will be reporting on what they believe is the strategic direction that the company should be taking, and what they believe is the most important yardstick with which to judge them.
Eric,
until the point when their tenure is over, and then the board is like, this guy didn't deliver. We hired this person to grow this company from profitability of 2 billion shillings a month to 4 billion shillings a month, and now we're making losses. You know, this guy was completely useless. We should hire somebody else. So you go ahead and hire somebody else, and the board doesn't meet until the contract of the CEO expires. With us, that's a voter.
You know, in between, usually, there are activities that take place, maybe not advertised, but the board is happy because clever CEO makes sure that this board is happy. So they don't look too keenly into the things that
the CEO may,
he or she may be doing. No. And they're presented with a picture that makes him feel, you know, things are working well. Until that tenure comes to an end, and you get auditors who come to before you hand over and say, you know, we've been making losses for the last 3 years. We've been what?
Losses.
Us. How? Said, well, actually, you know, there's this foreclosure which is due. There's this. And I think, how? This man lied to us. Your analogy is a good one. You know, the good leader, the leader who really lives up to the title of the leader, is the one who not only seeks to fulfill the promises that they made, but also seeks to understand the emerging needs of his people and seeks to grow with them as well. So that it's not just, this is what we said. Folks, this is what we said and this is where we're at, but from what I have observed, this is what I think we ought to consider even as we're moving forward. Because when we started, it was a need, but right now the need is this. Or this money that is allocated to us for doing this, this is what I would suggest that we do. Okay? Within this ward, we have this number of villages. Meaning, it's a constant conversation. Now, when a leader does that, then the leader is actually not just raising the aptitude, but the ability of the citizenry to be able to relate to that person and to be able to grow with that person. So the next leader who comes around will ensure or will understand that, you know, in this neck of the woods, people expect, and they will tell you, excuse me, you know,
it's not how we do it.
This is not how we do this thing. Huh? And if this is how you want to do it, then please don't bother.
Don't bother. Don't come to us.
We are not going to consider you because we've seen how this thing works. And you know why I'm saying this? There are leaders who do precisely that. But you know what's really strange about our politics? The leaders who do that and you still find them losing an election. Now, usually that's where the poisonous nature of our political ethnicity comes in.
Yes.
So they know you do well. They know. But somehow this need to support a leader who is of greater significance than you in that area is of a different persuasion when it comes to political parties. So if you're not in that political party,
you're out.
They'll even tell you, we're really sorry.
Yeah.
We know the things. We know the things you have done, but this is where we're going.
Let's take a break and take a look at traffic. But before we do that, let's hear from Karanja in Naivasha. Good morning.
Good morning, Eric Kidu and City again.
Good morning again.
Yeah, the thing is, now we may have a good agenda when we vote for the MP. But when the MP went and he got to the parliament, now he has the seat now. He takes the seat. What really happens, let me tell you, if you go to, for instance, in Naivasha, the CDF offices in Naivasha here, or you go to an MP where they have their offices, the first thing you go and meet the secretary there, and he will ask you, do you have an appointment with the MP? And you tell him, no, I don't have, but there is something that is very urgent I want to discuss maybe with the MP because we are in their recess. What happens is there are bigger people there who comes with the vehicles there. And they are given the priority. Then you will be told, no, the MP is very busy. He is in a meeting here. So are you going to wait, or maybe what do you think? Then when you realize that the MP is in there, but because you have come there with your bicycle or a motorcycle, nobody is ready to listen to you.
Yep.
The MP listens when there is demonstrations. The MP listens when there is a fire, maybe it's in Gikomba or in anywhere.
Yep.
MP ears don't listen when you go there, peacefully, and maybe you want to converse with the MP, they don't hear you. Another thing is, these people come with very good policies. And when they come with a very good policies in the village, and they told you now, these people have the monopoly. First of all, they have the monopoly of ideas. They will tell you, oh, you see, over the last 5 years, the MP who was here, now he has not done this, he has not done this. So when I get in there, I will make sure that we have water, boreholes, we dug boreholes, we have CDS, we build some more classes, and more things. And these things, they do it very well. But when he got in the office there, nothing happened.
Changes.
Nothing changes, my friend. And this is the problem that here we take people. Now, what are the mechanisms to hold this person accountable? We have no mechanism. So, unless we do like the UK, what they do, in 1980, the Labour Party rose his party. You know what? Because of their policy. They come out with their policy of nuclear disarmament. That was in 1980. But the Conservative Party, many people, they tax people highly, but they come up with an idea of good governance. Yeah? They build good schools, good hospitals, and good things. And the people elected those people. So, the thing is, what are the mechanisms to hold these people accountable? We don't have those mechanisms. And maybe unless the people in a village or in a constituency have something that we call the special interest group pressure groups.
Yes.
That will amplify these people.
And nothing stops the people from forming those. Nothing stops the people.
These same mechanisms for accountability that we're talking about.
Yes. It's actually possible to be done. But thank you very much, Karanja. Let's take this break and then we hear from more callers. Good morning, 22 minutes to 10.
"24/7 around the world, non-stop. This is Spice FM.
Samsung Galaxy just got more awesome. Introducing the new A32, A52 and A72. These awesome devices boast an awesome screen for your larger-than-life views and for you to maximize your viewing pleasure on your favorite content. An awesome camera for awesome, clearer, brighter, sharper pics. And an awesome battery that lasts all day long. Get to your nearest Samsung store or authorized retailer today. The new Galaxy A series. Awesome is for everyone. T's and C's apply.
Okay, so we're looking at Kiambu Road and it's absolute mess today, in and outbound. Right around the CID headquarters inbound, there was a bad accident, so no movement both sides. Police are on site to try and sort that out, but then it means the traffic spilling over into the Thika Superhighway is quite some, and it's moving very, very slowly today. So if you're wondering, yeah, that is it. Very bad accident. Watch out for that if you're headed in that direction, right? Okay, and so we still have that bad situation going towards Ngara. We will see that you should actually use Wangari Maathai. Coming off of Langats Road is actually slow. Jogo Road also slow. So we're still looking at really slow traffic. Even at this time, we should be out of traffic hour. I guess it is that Monday morning. So little pockets here and there. Coming out of Westlands, guys, the diversion for Uhuru Highway is causing also a bad traffic situation. So it looks like everywhere you go, there's a little bit of it. Let's talk through the morning and see what it looks like. It should get better soon. Spice of MKE on Twitter. Text on 40127.
102.5 Spice FM. Kisumu. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Currently,
I don't
holding their leaders accountable.
I don't agree with him at all.
What's that mechanism?
You see, if you just look at the way our society is constructed, and I'm using the word constructed deliberately, look at the way we form ourselves into groupings, chamas, circles. And in all these groupings, we have accountability measures. So it's not as though we don't understand it. We do understand it. We're talking about participation in decision making. Look at what we do, for instance, with institutions where, say, our children go to learn.
Without prodding.
No.
Without even waiting for things to go wrong.
You know.
Yes.
Because it matters to you. And then you are now telling me that in matters that actually not just look at your day-to-day life, but looks at the future of your livelihood and your life, you are telling me that you are not able to. You are able to. The question I want to address is, why don't we put this ability that we clearly demonstrate in other fields of our life in this particular sphere? Why don't we? Because we are an organized society. That you have a citizenry.
There are cases actually where when things get to a certain degree, people will do that.
Yes.
People will come out, people will demonstrate, just like Ranja was saying. If there's a demonstration, people will be demonstrating and saying, no, we are demanding this and the other. We have never seen our MP, we've never seen our leader, and they're the ones who are responsible. People will organize when things get to a certain level. But on a daily basis, before they get to that point where they've actually now gone completely bad, we don't have that constant accountability mechanism that we are deploying. Yet we have it in everything else. In church leadership, it's there. In market leadership, it's there. In farmer groups leadership, it's there. In everything, KTDA, people at their tea factories, they have those mechanisms. They elect leaders and they rise up against leaders.
Talking about KTDA, there's a change of leadership.
There's now a change of leadership at the top, at the helm.
Mm-hmm.
And you see these all the time. But when it comes to politicians, we sort of step back and say, huyu ngoja tu. Huyu miaka tano huyu arudi. Harudi. And this is within the first year. You're already saying, okay, forget about him. Just let him do whatever he wants to do. We are waiting for the next election. We are not going to bring them back in. In between these 5 years, how can you not demand for services?
You know, there's a quality that I think the Kenyan voter, the Kenyan citizen has, that I only wish these people who aspire for political leadership and those who are already in it would use to the advantage of their own advantage and the advantage of the people. And do call it resilience. But it's the ability to roll with the punches. When you have a people who are always adjusting to find ways of coping with the nonsense you brought upon them, instead of seeing yourself as being fortunate, what you do is you thank them by taking them even more for granted than you did before.
Yeah.
Because that's what Kenyans do. It's a problem. They are not going to confront it directly. What they're going to confront is, how do I go around this thing so that I can do what I want to do?
Yeah.
Now, one doesn't really want a situation where this particular person who's always looking for ways of fending for themselves saying, you know something, I'm actually going to confront you now.
Enough is enough.
I've been giving you leeway, hoping you'll change. You're not changing. I'm actually now going to confront you now. Now, it's this same story that brought about the vigor that the opposition politics in this country had for the longest time, saying, no, we've had enough. People are being jailed, people are being detained, you can't speak, no, enough. So we are going to speak. Jailers, we'll still continue speaking.
Yeah.
We are afraid we will run away, but we're still going to continue speaking. And they keep speaking and speaking and speaking and speaking. Now, we are all allowed to speak, and that's all we seem to do, speak. And yet, the speaking was so that we could do things, not so that we could continue speaking. Yeah, there's a space and a place for speaking, but then there's a place and a space to actually do something.
The role of opposition at local level, I'm not even talking about national level, at local level, because I'm just thinking, you see, when people are organized, and I remember the conversation that we had the last time when I was saying, yes, people are fed up, people are willing to participate. All they want to see is some sort of leadership. These people who have lost the election, so you chose so-and-so, they go home smarting and saying, you didn't even care, you didn't elect me, so then you go. But imagine if you believe that you're a leader and you still continued engaging with the community and saying, you know what, this is what this person that you elected said they're going to do. Let's work together to make sure that they deliver. Initially, it will be dismissed as, oh, those are the sour grapes of this loser. People, somebody who has not even been elected by the people, what voice do they have? However, if the people actually recognized the need for having that person being continuously active in the daily political lives, then they help to hold the leader accountable.
Eric, you do have a very valid point, because one, it also dovetails into understanding that political leadership is not the only leadership that you need. Not really. We talk about the Mageuzi movement and the IPPG and all those things. The reason why it worked was because the citizenry in its entirety said, no, this is enough. Whether it was the religious groups, whether it was civil society,
or students.
Everyone said, no, folks, this one, no. This not. We do not want to go in this direction anymore. And yet, the situation we find ourselves now in my mind, is actually worse than that particular situation. Because we have all these freedoms, and it's the very freedoms that are being used to emasculate us, to put us in this untenable position, the same freedoms. And yet, because we have those freedoms, we don't seem to see that actually, forget being taken advantage of. My friend, we are being plundered in broad daylight as we observe. And plundering is not just resources. It is livelihoods and the future. The future is what's actually being taken away. And you're seeing it.
Rolled over, and then the gear is put in reverse. You rolled over and then gone over again.
Yes.
Over and over and over again.
Yes.
And that's what I'm saying. Unless you're laying in a position whereby you feel, well, it's all right, let it just continue. If the pain is too much, if the situation is too uncomfortable, you don't have to wait for pre-prescribed platforms or avenues for clamoring for change or seeking for accountability. You create them. You don't. Let's just assume they don't exist. You create them. Because guess what? You've proven over and over again that you're able to do it in other spheres. Why not this? You're dealing with the same human beings. They don't have two heads or less. Although sometimes you want to believe that they might. But they don't. Human beings just like you, who are doing the same thing, trying to survive. But they should not be allowed to survive over and over again with you having me put on the altar. It cannot happen like that. And I'm just going to go back to, until you are uncomfortable enough with the situation that's happening politically and as far as governance and leadership is concerned, to start to clamor for change or to demand of this person that you voted in, and to even realize that it's a job you must actually do together,
then it won't change.
It won't.
I have another perspective, not a different perspective, not a contrary perspective, just something to add. But let's take a break. 12 minutes to 10. The conversation continues right here on SpiceFM and online. Good morning.
...24/7, around the world, non-stop. This is Spice FM.
What is the best gift to celebrate a birthday? Cash, of course. What if I told you that you can get cold, hard cash for celebrating a birthday? This June, Olivia Otieno, is giving 10,000 shillings to 41 lucky
Welcome to Spice FM, the best exclusive radio station bringing you the best mix of the best music ever. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
10 minutes to 10.
Mornings
So the other
done
perspective
right. 94.4.
And we've talked about this very many times. How do voters behave in an election? Do we vote in or do we vote out? I've always argued that Kenyan voters vote out somebody. It is City who's in office. We are not voting for City again. So These are the candidates. Let's pick.
Whichever.
Toss a coin, roll the dice, whatever you want to do. Pick one, as long as it's not City.
City is out. That one was established.
Yes.
Yes.
Who else is coming? So this is the person who comes in because of even how they were coming to campaign. Even they know that you do not want City. So they look at what had City promised, what did City not deliver. You see, City did not deliver the road. City did not deliver hospitals. City did not deliver this and the other. City went there and instead of working with the government, he was going to fight the government. What did City think he was going to achieve? I am going to be different from City. So this person then is elected as a liberator. They are liberating us from City's yoke. How do you treat a liberator? You give them the free rein to go forth and lead you out of this quagmire.
Because the assumption is that in as much as you're voting this person out, the person that is coming in inadvertently will be the one to save this terrible situation.
Yes.
And still, again, you're still in that cycle of not paying attention to what they're doing or holding them accountable.
Nope.
Because the perceived notion is that they're going to come and sort out and right all the wrongs that were done before.
They have gone to the forest. They are fighting the colony. We will get independence. What we are doing is we are cooking food and making sure the food is delivered. How they are fighting? They are fighting. So you sit back and wait for the day that it shall be announced that the Union Jack has been lowered and you get your independence. How that person is behaving out there, whether they are killing your fellow citizens on the other village, whether they are actually fighting them colony or whether they are becoming them colony themselves, you are not checking. And I think that's the same thing that could be argued happens in our thinking and in our voting. We elect, we step back because we have elected a liberator called Ndu, who's going to do things better than City had ever done. And then halfway through the term, we realize, Ndu is even more useless than City. We are not going to elect Ndu again. Bring City or bring Eric. Same cycle. Bottom line, we are not holding the leaders accountable.
But you know, now you're talking about perspective. You know, you've actually given me a different perspective now. Not in opposition like you, just adding to it. You see, the power that our leaders have seem to get to their heads and they behave fairly confused, the way they go about things. Because sometimes we argue, but these guys are working against their own interest. I think the same thing happens to us. Come the year of election, we are giddy with this power of election. We are drunk with it. We know these guys are going to come to us.
Coming.
This guy whom we couldn't see, he's coming and he's going to beg us and he's going to talk to us. So we continue that giddiness until we actually vote in the person. Then we ask, what on earth did we do? What on earth did we do? We're stuck with this decision. So it's like a never-ending vicious cycle. And it's like we don't seem to be at ease with the freedoms that we fought so hard to actually gain. And we ourselves don't know how to galvanize these freedoms for our own benefit. It's like we don't.
We don't realize our power.
No, we don't. Not really.
We don't realize we are the sovereign.
No.
So we assume that person that we've elected
is the sovereign.
Is the sovereign.
Yes. And by extension, if you take it further to the executive, that's the real sovereign
That's
now.
the real sovereign. That the one decides.
Damdosi sovereign.
Yes.
Yes.
John in Nyandarua, good morning.
Good morning. How are you guys?
We're fine, thanks.
Yes, how are you doing?
Fine.
Very well.
Okay, now you have a very, very important discussion regarding development. My point is that I don't understand why a member of parliament should be involved in the development of any kind in this country. Because, for one, we have a devolved system. In fact, development should entirely be the responsibility of the devolved institution. And the problem we have is our constitutional setup, that an MP should have CPF, that the devolved unit have a political responsibility. What we should have is an entirely devolved system that has the full responsibility of development.
Yep.
The MP should merely be should have only legislative responsibilities.
And oversight.
Exactly, and oversight.
And representation.
And the same and representation.
Yes.
It should not even be involved in development at all.
But John, let me ask you the question. We as the voter and as the citizen, what do we contribute to this situation that we currently live with, where the MP believes he's all those things and then more?
Because we've told the MP that that's what we want to see.
We have a problem because we believe that development should come from the member of parliament. And this is something that we should discuss as a population, as a voter.
Yep.
And this should be a thing that should be constitutionally amended. We divorce entirely the responsibility of development from the member of parliament. We direct development to the devolved unit. And at the same time, we should divorce politics from the devolved unit. We should come up with a system whereby the counties should have a responsibility principally for development, nothing else. At the same time, we should have a system where the current expenditure for counties should be lower
than development.
Expenditure. If we can achieve this, then definitely we can have no problem.
Okay,
but
good
the
point.
The way we have set up development, MP here, MCA there, governor there.
It starts with the president.
Yeah?
It starts with the president. Development starts with the president.
Exactly. It starts with the president.
Yeah.
We should have a system, a proper system. And
Inverting
that entirely comes from the county.
Bring up. Thank you very much, John. Well, that's the argument that the Punguza Mizigo campaign had, making the ward the unit of development, and then you work it upwards. I totally agree. I am vehemently opposed to the whole idea of CDF. Call it whatever you want. NG, CDF, CDFG, whatever. MP at given money for development, you have 3 jobs only. The rest, don't come and tell me about schools and all. Let's hear today's proverb, City.
Right. When vultures surround you, try not to die.
Context.
All our complaints seem to point to vilifying the political class and calling them beings that are just slightly better than vermin. So when you feel such negative vibes about a group of people, you feel, one, that not only do they not take care of your interests, but they also feed off your problems, which they have created for you. Now, if we were to caricature it and call them vultures, in the extreme sense of the word, then we who are possible targets, much as we seem to be undergoing problems that may cause our demise, don't die.
That's it. Well said. Nothing to add to that. See you again tomorrow morning, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. in the Situation Room. CT Muga, Nduoko and Eric Latif wishing you a lovely day. Good morning. It's now 10 a.m.